ties in with the name Snowball, because ice and snow are closely related.
Right.
And then you had Napoleon. Napoleon was the communist, the dictator. He represented Stalin, Joseph Stalin, the communist dictator. And what he did was he was the one that had Trotsky assassinated, just like Napoleon had Snowball killed. So, and then the other thing in the show, or in the novel, the pigs were the ones running the show, the pigs. And this ties into, you could relate this to the Old Testament, because pork is exempt from consumption. Just as the chosen people in the Bible, the pigs were exempt from toil, and they were exempt from the diet of the other worker animals, just as the pig is exempt from consumption in the Bible. So that's my take on Animal Farm. And the same guy that wrote Animal Farm is the same guy that wrote 1984. Now, 1984 talks about a dictatorship of technology, or technocracy. And in that show, or in that movie, or in that novel, they have a movie, they have a couple of movies, and then they have a novel that I also read when I was a kid, because, like I said, I had some great teachers. And when I read that novel, I was like, wow. So this the reason why he wrote the novel was to warn people about totalitarianism. Because during the time that Joseph Stalin was popular, because, we fought World War II, and Russia was an ally, and people were like, oh, Stalin is great, Russia's great, but he was just shining a light on that regime, which was basically a very brutal, bloodthirsty type of regime.
Right.
So with 1984, everybody in 1984 is physically weak because they're malnutritioned. Everybody is placed under a state of surveillance. Everyone is being watched by Big Brother. And of course, Big Brother's name is Emmanuel Goldstein. Emmanuel Goldstein. That's Big Brother. That's Big Brother. And the people have no rights. They have no freedoms. They are not allowed to reproduce. They are not allowed to have human interactions. They are not allowed to be human.
Wow. What does that sound like?
1980. They want to take us into 1984 and beyond. But he wrote the book because he had association with a group called the Fabian Society. And the Fabian Society was created in 1884. And the Fabian Society's whole mission was to introduce socialism by degrees into the English-speaking peoples of the world. So that's why all this is related. Everything is related.
Wow.
So someone also inquired about Marie Laveau. I've heard a lot of things about Marie Laveau. I haven't done a lot of research on her, so I can't really speak on Marie Laveau, but I know that she was a powerful, from what I've learned, I know that she was a very powerful practitioner of the arts. So I don't know, much about her in that respect. But then another person had a question about let me see what they have a question about. I'll find it later. But I know in the last video that I did, I talked about socialism, but I didn't really talk about some things I didn't talk about. I didn't mention, for example, the reason why so many countries love socialist or communist type governments. Because, there's so many socialist governments, and people wonder, why would somebody want to set up a communist government? The reason why they want to set up a government like that is because they found out that a communist government, and I say socialist communist because they're basically the same thing. Socialist government is the single most efficient, albeit brutal, system for aggregating or stealing the wealth, resources, and manpower of the planet Earth. That is the best template that they found, and that's the template that they like to utilize.
Wow.
And this is important again because this is where they want to take the entire planet. Because back to 1984 dealt with a planetary issue where you had various factions fighting against each other, but they were all manipulated by the same individual, Emmanuel Goldstein. So that's a very instructive book to read. But that's exactly where they want to take us. So the social spacing, as I call it, that's part of a larger agenda to take us somewhere where man does not want to go, where we shouldn't even go, not even contemplate going. Exactly. Now, if you look at the people of India, what they did, some people are like, well, what can we do? Well, what you can do is fight fire with water. You can utilize soft power, back to the feminine energy. What the Indians of the subcontinent of India did with the British, if anybody knows about that, see how they drove the British out of their continent. They stood down and they did not comply. All of them, as a group, as a collective, they drove the British out of their country without even a shot being fired, by not complying with their demands, by just standing down. Period. That's what they did. So, but these socialist / communist governments, we send a lot. They send a lot of foreign aid to many different autocratic type or totalitarian type regimes every single year, and they call it, euphemistically refer to it as foreign aid. Well, this foreign aid, if they're supposedly so freedom loving, then why are they spending money with these autocratic regimes, these totalitarian regimes, these bloodthirsty regimes? They spend money with these because the money is not really foreign aid. The money is a welfare benefit payment that goes to the political ruling class, that goes to their corrupt political dictators, and that keeps them in line. And that the money never goes. It never trickles down to the people. And plus, the benefit of a system like that is that, okay, we're supposedly a capitalist country, and we love supposedly free enterprise, and we love it so much that we want to go to another country. But if we go to a country, or I keep saying if they go to another country, they don't want to deal with a capitalist, a country with pure what they call laissez-faire, a laissez-faire type of economy, because a laissez-faire economy is an economy that runs automatically, and it does not have government it's void of government intervention or interference. Right. So let's say you're a nation state, a corrupt nation state, a ravenous vulture, or ravenous vulture type of a country like we have here, and you want to go to a country, you want to do business. Do you want to do business with a country where they have all these different all this competition going on, and they have a truly laissez-faire economy, or do you want to go to one that has an economy that's controlled by a socialist government to make it easier for you to do business? That's why they go to these countries, and that's why they want socialism in these different countries, and that's why they prop up these dictators and these totalitarian regimes, because they're also proxies too. They use them for killing. They use them to keep their population in check. So that's what's going on in those countries. So
you said a mouthful, brother, because they're not going to say it like this, You're not going to turn the news on all of a sudden. No matter how much they have a newscaster, a big globe. You're
not going to get it.
Like they're so fair. Exactly.
No, you're not going to get it. So you just get it straight from me.
There you go.
Tell them Zamal sent you.
They already know you, brother.
Now, there was another brother that had a question about the Iroquois. He asked me a question about the Iroquois and the Ubuntu. The Ubuntu deals more with a concept that comes from South Africa. Genesis is Africa for that concept. And he also asked about the Iroquois Constitution. Well, the Iroquois Constitution, Dr. Malachi Z. wrote a book many years ago, and I haven't had a copy of it. I was trying to find it earlier. I just found it here. He talked about the Iroquois Constitution and how the Constitution basically came from the Supreme Council of Women, because they had they were the ones who selected the chiefs. And he wrote this book called Let's Set the Record Straight, and it dealt with many different concepts. But I'm going to read something here from this book real quick to give him an answer about the Iroquois Constitution, because his books are like question and answer. So here's a question. The question is, Are you saying that the original Constitution came from the Iroquois nation? That's a question. Answer. Yes, the Constitution of the United States was plagiarized from the Iroquois Kayanesha Kowa, spelled Kayananesha, next word Kowa, Kowa. It came from the Iroquois Kayanesha Kowa, which translates Great Law of Peace by Thomas Paine. It's also noteworthy that the beginning of the Constitution, we the people, that's what it says in the Constitution, we the people, is the exact meaning of the original name of the Cherokee tribe of Native American, which is Aniunwia. Aniunwia. That's what they call themselves. Aniunwia. So despite what you have been taught in your schools and universities, the Constitution of the United States of America was not written by James Madison. It was written by Thomas Paine. He used the six nations of the Iroquois' oral constitution. I'll repeat that. He used the 6 nations of the Iroquois' oral constitution, known as the Great Law of Peace, as the basis and foundation of on which to form the Constitution of the United States. This system was a very highly developed political system of the Iroquois 6 League of Nations governed by women. That is called genocracy, and we talked about genocracy in the last video I did, and with forms of government, what type of government do we really have, and then we also talked about it, I think, in when Sheroes ruled the world in that 5-part series. So, it says further here, the Iroquois, among other Native American tribes, such as Navajo, Crow, Hopi, Homo, Turok, and the Kiowa, had genocracy or a matrilineal government or matronal government. The definition of genocracy is government of women or a society ruled by women. It comes from the Greek word gunekokatria, from guni or gunek, meaning woman, and the suffix krasi, which means government or rule, which comes from the Greek suffix kratia, Kratia, from kratos, meaning strength, power. So the word genocracy literally means women's strength. The word geno phonetically is the same as gene from the Greek word genos, meaning race, offspring. The colonialist term for this kind of rule, they called it petticoat government to cast aspersion on it, to diminish it and to marginalize it. That's what they called it, petticoat government, which implies lace, ruffles, or a woman's silly whine or silly whim. And it says further here, what the Europeans didn't understand was in our ancient civilizations, women were not weak, spoiled creatures that needed protection. The Native Americans acknowledge that a strong woman made a strong nation. At the head of their council was the beloved woman of the nation whose voice was considered to be that of the Great Spirit, speaking through her. They deified the woman because all men came from women. Women were the progenitors of the nation, owning the land and the soil. Back then, the Europeans were under the biblical impression that woman came from man, in Genesis 2, verse 23. So they could not understand why the man would surrender his masculinity to a woman. When they came over to the New World and saw men under women's rule, they immediately tried to change it. They even went as far as taking some of the Cherokee men to England and educating them in English ways. With this British influence, these men returned to the Cherokee country, which included parts of Georgia, Mississippi, and North Carolina, and eventually changed the old ways to male dominance. Then he says here, scientists have found that the mitochondrial DNA that is only passed from mother to daughter, I talked about that in my series, which proves that men did come from women, and that everyone on the planet today came from one woman. That is why in our Native American cultures, such as the Native Americans and the Olmecs, they have a female as the head of the clan. The Iroquois had no idea that allowing these European tribes into their country was the beginning of their destruction. And then it says here, how can you prove that the Constitution was plagiarized from the Iroquois' Law of Peace? Answer. The Iroquois' own oral constitution predates the United States Constitution by centuries. The Iroquois' oral constitution was also called the White Roots of Peace, the Great Law of the Iroquois, and the Iroquois Confederacy made up 6 tribes: the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Onondaga, the Oneida, or the Oneida, the Mohawk, and the Tuscarora tribes. Their constitution, although not written, allowed for free expression, freedom of speech, representative government, which we don't have, checks and balances, which we certainly they don't have, and sovereign nation states. Like I mentioned before, America had sovereign nation states that were not beholden to the federal government. They were individual nation states. And it says here, all the elements that make up the United States of America's Constitution and government does any of this sound familiar? If you do a little research and read history books on the subject, they will make statements such as this: the Confederation of States, in reference to the Constitution of the U.S. that became the United States of America, may have been patterned after the Iroquois League, or Oral Constitution, taken from World Book Encyclopedia, Volume 10, page 365. So that's basically what I wanted to read to give him some clarity on the Iroquois and what I think about that Constitution. That's what I think about their Constitution.
Really?
Much respect for it.
Really?
Yeah, much respect. So I mentioned the Indians in the subcontinent. You know, these people can be overthrown not by force, but by utilizing feminine energy, just like the Indians did with the Brits. They did the same thing. And so we know where the problem is coming from. It would be nice just to see all those platforms just, you know how you see those movies and at the end of the movie, this, like, let's say if it's a horror movie, which I don't watch, but when I was a kid, I used to watch those movies, but you know how you see the house just implodes from within? That's what I like to see.
Yeah,
these platforms.
Exactly.
Yes, just implode. And we'll migrate to a whole another type of, another platform, you know. So that's what I wanted to say. But now, in terms of what we have right now, in terms of what we're dealing with, we have created basically a monster. We the people have created a monster. You know, we have gradually, systematically, voluntarily ceded. Well, first we were seduced, you know, and then we gradually, systematically, voluntarily ceded control over all the essential life elements and activities to a small parasite clique. And by vesting this entity with such authority, we created a monster by accident. You know, I call it the beguiling usurper was the catalyst, and we the people were and you know still are the active ingredient in this power, or his power ascendancy. And as we ceded power, the once impotent catalyzing agent morphed and aggregated into a powerful entity, you know, infinitely more powerful than the sum of its individual parts. So it became a powerful dragon, you know, drunk with power, and now it's a global tragedy. That's my alarm in the background. So basically, the people endowed this creature with sweeping powers and illegitimate authority. You know, we dutifully fed him. He was, of course, very nice. He was also polite, and he was very ingratiating. But while he was working out as in, you know, working out with weights, as he was working out privately and getting stronger and stronger every day, he kept telling us how he was a stalwart, you know, and an indisputable champion of democracy. You know, he convinced us that we were protected by the unbreachable principle of checks and balances. And he also said that this political firewall was the ultimate panacea. the fail-safe mechanism to ensure the protection of our freedoms, or rather our liberties. And his actions would safeguard, and also that his actions would safeguard such hard-won freedoms from now to perpetuity. So he, Uncle Sam or Uncle Satan, proved time and again his unimpeachable devotion to rooting out threats to our quote-unquote democracy by taking out foreign dictators before they could get to us, by disseminating rogue leaders and nation states, or decimating rogue leaders and nation states, and righteously asserting his military might wherever necessary, by engineering coups d'etat against illegitimate regimes, and engaging in espionage and counter-terrorist activities. He told us that we have free markets and antitrust regulations, all designed to protect us nations, cartels, and suffocating monopolies. That's what he told us. And he's nothing really but a big phony. He doesn't respect true diversity. He enforces social conformity with a cruel weapon I call political uniformity. That's a one-size-fits-all version of reality, a desired global monoculture, which is a flawed model that promotes sameness in tandem with the cold-blooded and mechanical suppression of creativity. So that's a place where everybody sings the same song at the same time, unless countered by free-thinking independents, employing their own faculties and their own minds. So where's the proof? Where could it be found? Where is his proof? Why, it existed in the creation of his numerous alphabet soup agencies, the EPF, or the EPA, the FDA, the SEC, and all the others would protect our impregnable and vulnerable economy. He was working overtime without any rest to ensure against all social aberrations and apparent anomalies. Time and again, he proved his support of two political parties, or two-party politics, and gave you the Democrats and Republicans, both sides and controlled by him, which was nothing but politricks. He promised your freedom of speech. He promised you that. The right to bear arms, giving these claims incessant publicity.
Right.
But when the time was right, he planned to take them all away, because that's his true nature, a master of duplicity. So like I said, we have created a monster, both actively and passively, and even with empathy. We said that to him, even if you harm us, maim us, cripple us, infect us, push porn in our children's cartoons and schools, poison or disrespect us, industrial pollute, and even kill us, we will still pay homage to you. We will still provide you with our dollar votes of confidence. We will still shot with and patronize you. We will still make obeisance to you, and even if you're not working in our best interests. It doesn't matter that we nurtured them, breastfed them, spoon-fed them, empowered, advocated, and enabled them. The child is now a monster, and that monster is collectively known as the Western world, and that includes the many proxy flunky extensions, the most prominent of which would be China. That's right, China. You see, China and America are like retail stores, if you really want to think about it. America is in the process of going out of business as we know it. Not that they won't conduct business, but as we know it, America is closing, or it's being closed down by Old Testament, and China is having a grand opening. So in closing down one retail store, these deplorables, those others, those perennial mothers, they've migrated to another, and that's the same parasite clique, the same internationalist clique, the same transnational clique, the same nomadic clique, the same migratory, opportunistic, and blood-sucking clique. And that goes from nation to nation, incubates in each and weakening their hosts one by one, leaving them like a carcass to fry in the sun. So this, the global historical landscape is littered with such national corpses, or what they call failed nation states. And America is definitely going to be, or slated to be the next.
I saw it a long time ago.
What's that?
They're switching over from the United States to China, but we don't
know
it. Most of us don't know it. That we're going to wake up one day and realize that, I always said years ago, America is being carved out. Anything good is being taken out, and many of these people who are in power, they're moving out, they're going elsewhere, living good, and we think that, well, it's all about America. But these globalists have left, and their interests are elsewhere, and so we're not even going to have crumbs. I mean, they've handed it down to the Chinese, and we know how they're going to feel about us. They're going to be even worse.
The Chinese are their proxies.
Yes.
Yeah, they planned this a long time ago, but China is the you hear about that guy in China. He was making $6 a week or some ridiculous amount of money, and then all of a sudden he's the richest man and one of the richest men in the world.
Yep.
He's a corporate front, and they do this to all types of people. Like they've done it before with the Rothschilds. Did it before with they had the guys like Andrew Carnegie. They had Rockefeller. They had the Vanderbilt. They financed all those guys, and they were cutouts. So, and they did that then, and they do it now. But this China is really something. But if you look at the banking situation, for example, they do the same thing in every country. They do the same thing, and with this, the issue with China, a lot of people don't look at it this way, but what it is when you take the wealth of a country and you divest that wealth of the country, and you transfer that wealth into another country, as in the case of closing down multiple factories and basically the economic or industrial infrastructure of a nation, and that infrastructure was responsible for creating a middle class, and the middle class is where the wealth is generated, then you're basically, that is really, when you really boil it down, you know how the communists would always have a war against the middle class, because in communism, the subject of the revolution was always against the so-called bourgeoisie,
right?
The merchants, the professionals, the shopkeepers. Those were bourgeoisie. They had to be terminated and eliminated because they wanted to have a two-tier society. And the best way to do that is to strangle the middle class, which is what they're doing with the small businesses right now. They want to strangle them because there's too much wealth. Wealth gives you too much independence, and you can't be codependent on them if you're independent or independently wealthy, like so many people are in this country. So what this mass transfer of wealth is, and other initiatives that they have in place, is nothing more than a communist revolution, a Bolshevik. It's not a traditional communist revolution, because people typically think of those revolutions as involving blood or a bloody overthrow. This is since the middle class has always been the subject of every communist revolution. This is a modern day attack on the middle class, just in modern form. That's all it is. But if you think about how the banking situation works, like I said, they do the same thing, and they are allowed to. They go from country to country, and they are allowed to install what I call their dog and pony monetary circus, which is what these monetary or banking systems are. They're circuses, and the result is always the same. Look at the evolution of our banking system here in this country, or even in Europe. It starts off. There's depending on who you listen to or where you get your information from, you can see various stages in the evolution of a monetary system. But you start with honest money. I just distilled it down to 3 steps. They start with honest money, which could be silver and gold. Then they move to step 2, which is dishonest money or fiat money. And then after the fiat money phase, then they go into what I call a monetary detox. And when your own citizens, when other nation states begin to lose faith in your currency, and they start to seek honest money alternatives, then your monetary system has been given a vote of no confidence. So, moral of the story: this fake monetary system is an impermanent, temporary system that never lasts. And so now they want to change it over to another system because it has no basis, it has no substance. I'm glad that alarm is going off. It's been driving me crazy. Hold on a second. I want to make sure it doesn't go off again.
Yeah, take your time, bro.
Oh, I think it stopped. I think it's all right. Okay. Anyway, I said all that to say, to talk about, to talk about survival. I'm not a doom monger. I am not a doom monger, but and I'm not an alarmist, and I'm not a pessimist. But one thing I am is a realist, and based on my real observations, my real research, based on real past events, and based on current realities, I see exactly what they're planning. And I noted that in detail in the first video that I ever did with you. I think it was about a month ago, Pandemic Lies. So I tell people, I don't like to be right all the time. I tell people, prove me wrong. If you prove me wrong, then I'll turn into a kitty cat and I'll shut up and go to sleep. But what I do want to say is I wish everyone safety. I wish everyone prosperity. I wish everyone family security and continuity. I can say that many of us will make it. Some of us will not make it. I may not even make it myself, or I may not.
You make it, brother. You make it.
Yeah, I'll make it on the other side. But I may make it myself, and I may not. But I'm ready for any eventuality. But one thing is true: I will never stop being a champion for the proverbial stone that the builders rejected. I will not cease in my advocacy for the disinherited, the dispossessed, the disenfranchised, the perpetually dissed, which will be us. That's us, and all of my, and all of those of my race, all of those of my ilk and racial mind. And I think that we should all have some level of preparation. But I also, on the flip side, I think that you can't be too prepared. I advocate going beyond mere stockpiling. That's important, but I also advocate learning 19th century off-grid skills. I think the only person I heard on this platform, and I haven't listened to all your videos because you produce such a number of videos, I can't keep up with all your videos, but I heard Sister Sekhmet talking about that one day. I'm like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We really do need to be prepared to live in a world without electricity. Because I can't put anything past these folks. They've already told us in so many ways that they want us to be dependent on them. They've told us, you've heard the stories, don't buy seeds. They don't want you buying seeds. You see what they're doing with the small business. They're strangling the small business sector, which is the backbone of the country. You see their inaction at the death of the middle class. They always talked about how the middle class is dying, but they never really talked about what remedial measures they would take to turn the tide of that slow death. And they never, of course, talk about the underclass. The underclass doesn't even exist, only the middle class. But, that middle class is that necessary buffer layer that can always graduate in their hierarchical system. Because they do desire a two-tier system. In 1984, the system was two-tier. It was rich and it was poor. It was the people at the top and the people at the bottom. And the people at the bottom were slaves. They were mind-controlled. They were, you read the story, you'll see. Hold on, let me turn this thing on. It's driving me crazy.
Yeah, no problem.
Hold on a second, real quick. Funny how time flies.
Right.
I'm sounding pretty good.
Your hands are up good, brother.
Okay, good.
Give me 90 seconds. Keep talking. Let me hit the restroom, brother. Keep talking.
Yeah, so I talked about the systematic destruction of wealth. the depreciating value of the dollar, and this basically going on to the communist itself. This is a purposeful destruction of the middle class. And all of this, like I said, it brings me to survival. And a lot of people have different ideas about what people need to do to prepare for a adverse economic situation. I'll just put it like that. Some people say you should have plenty of gold coins. And of course, if you have gold and silver, which is the best means of utilizing commerce, the best thing to have because it's something of value. But the thing about that is that if you study governments and what they do when they have what they call martial law, they confiscate people's coins. They confiscate government minted coins. So if you have coins minted from any government, they would confiscate those unless they're unminted coins. If you have unminted coins, then those are coins that you melted down yourself and converted over. But let me just another thing that can happen: food. They tell a lot of people have all this food stored up, which is, I think it's a good thing to have food stored up. But situation is that food can be confiscated. I've read stories about these types of governments. They have different crises in their country and social or societal breakdown, and they're going, taking people's food. So that's another thing to consider. But like I said, nobody could be really too prepared for this. I mean, we really don't know which way this thing is going to go. But I see what they're planning, and I just want to give you guys a heads up, and hopefully, give somebody something of value that they can walk away with. I would be open to learning ways to cook without electricity. I would definitely learn about cooking underground. I say underground because you can build really easy to build makeshift ovens with stone. But the problem with that is that if you have a bunch of hungry people, starving people, and they're looking for food, and they smell food, then they're coming to get that food. So if you cook underground, which is a very effective way to cook, the food never has any aroma, so no one even knows you're cooking. So this is just in a worst case scenario. Like I said, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'd like to be prepared for any eventuality. But cooking underground is a very, very easy skill to learn. It's something that's very easy to do. And basically, when people cook underground, let me see if I can pull up something here. They call them different names. They call them earth ovens. They call them. There's a lot of different names for they cook underground. And basically, what you do is you dig a hole. When you dig a hole that's so big, typically if you have, you can dig a hole 2 by 3 by 1 foot in depth, and it should be bigger than that depending on the type of stones you use. But if you use stones, the first thing you do is to tile the bottom of the ground. And you're tiling the bottom of the ground with stones, preferably flat stones, because if you use round stones or irregularly shaped stones, then you'll have to dig a bigger size pit. And if you go on YouTube, you'll see many different videos of people using earth ovens. They call them steaming pits or primitive ovenless baking. Many different names for that. But the first thing you do is you dig the hole so big, then you tile the interior of the ground, and basically what you want to do is heat those stones up and to turn them into coals, basically. And what you do is you heat those up with you get some wood, and you light a fire. You light the fire. You let the fire just completely cover everything in a uniform manner, and then you let the fire just die out. And when the fire dies out, you have rocks that are now coals, hot coals, and those hot coals will allow you to cook anything. bake anything. And of course, you should never use coals that you've just taken out of the water, because if you take them out of the water and you subject them to heat like that, then the rocks will break, and there's a danger that they can explode. So you don't want that to happen. So if you go to, there's a site called Mother Earth News. I don't know, I'm kind of weird. I've always liked this type of stuff, because when I was a little boy, my grandfather, he was a very, very self-sufficient type of man. He lived in Mississippi. He had a beautiful log cabin house.
Mm-hmm.
He had his own farm. He had his own. Well, when my mother was a little girl, they had I think they had hogs, chickens. They were self-sufficient. They had their own everything. They had their own outhouse. They had their own well that I believe my grandfather dug. It was the best one I've ever had, and I've never had one like that since. Of course, they have red dirt in Mississippi. Everything is looks just like Ghana. Just like when you went to Ghana, I'm like, wow, that looks just like Mississippi. So that's what it looked like. But he had a cast iron stove. The stove heated the entire house up very comfortably. He had a fireplace that heated the house very comfortably. And I just kind of got the self-sufficiency bug, I guess, and I've been that way ever since. But basically, with this earth oven, you dig a hole 2 feet wide by 3 feet long, but 1 foot deep. And since you keep the pit's walls fairly vertical, and then you line it, like I said, with flat rocks. And then, like I said, if you go to that site, to Mother Earth News, and look up how to build your own earth oven plus earth oven recipes, who knows? You may have to use that. You might have to use an earth oven at some point. So that's one thing. Let's see what else we got here. Medically speaking, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Dr. Holga Clark. Dr. Holga Clark, she wrote a book called The Cure for All Cancers, and she also wrote The Cure for Advanced Cancers and The Cure for All Diseases. She wrote 3 books. And in one of her books, or maybe a couple of books, she described a device called the Zapper. The Zapper is a electronic device that could be built that sends a surge of electricity through the body, and it kills parasites. Other people I've read about, they even claim that it's killed their cancer. It's killed all types of diseases. And I do know for a fact that when you are subjected to, say, an insect sting, like a bee sting, I found out that that's very beneficial for the immune system. Extremely beneficial for the immune system. That's an ancient science. Of course, that's been lost. People have forgotten about that. But if you go to online, you can actually download her book for free, and it tells you how to make those zappers. Or you can buy them online while you still can. But they call them. You can go to thecureforalldisease.com or the Cure for All Disease. You can probably find that in a free PDF. And then you can go to zapperplans.com if you want to be, resourceful and build it yourself. And then, of course, you can also do things like build your own solar oven if you want to build a solar oven. But I would probably recommend people to have what they call a generator. And, with generators, you can have your own power. But think about this. In a situation where things go sour and people are out of work, what typically tends to happen is that you have marauding groups of people, gangs of people that are looking for food, and they're looking to rob, stores, looking to break into houses.
Immediately, too. This happens immediately,
Yes, they're looking to break into homes, and if you have all this food in your house, then you might as well let them have it, because they're going to end up shooting you anyway. So, but that's what happens when you have that type of societal breakdown. But something else that I wanted to tell you about. Let's see. Hold on, I'm pulling something up real quick. All right. I wanted to pull something up and read to you guys real quick. excellent book that I got. It deals with a lot of different things, historically related, but it's also, let's see, let me go to that certain page in this book. The name of the book is called Pandora's Box. You can probably find it online. Pandora's Box, full of revelations, historical revelations. 97, let's see. This just gives you an idea of what happens when, when society goes sour, as I call it. Okay, if there's a depression, of course, you got millions of people will starve, riots, killings, plundering. Again, I'm not trying to be a doom monger. I'm just trying to let you just prepare you guys.
Right. We get the
cities become jungles. Yeah, half-starved humans preying on the weak. Of course, they try to block roads off too, so you want to watch that. You want to watch if you're driving around bends and stuff. They want to do that. But governments do tend to confiscate people's water. You heard them, like I mentioned before. They don't want you planting seeds. They really want you to be completely a complete codependent and subservient to them. Because in 1984, that was a complete welfare state. And of course, you heard these Democrats proposing legislation to give everyone a certain guaranteed income. That's socialism, because if you're a dissenting voice and you say something they don't like, guess what? They cut off your money supply. Wow. That's total control. That's what they want. Money, banking, and the beast. It says, of course, very soon your dollars can become worthless. And of course, the things that will be important then, a container of salt would be more valuable, or a bag of sugar will be more valuable than money, because money will be like toilet paper, if something like that happens. So you can see if something like that does happen, they will have to jumpstart the economy and change it over to a different system. So they've been planning for this for a long time. Let's see. Go to another page here. And the reason I told you guys about that zapper is because, of course, drugs will become unavailable. You won't have any access to drugs, vital drugs. So if you need to cure yourself, if you have a disease, I mean, there's different things. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a scientist. That's my disclaimer. I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm not advocating what you should do. I'm just giving you information.
Right.
So, but I've heard stories about people with that zapper, and I've heard great things about that. But, you can have all the gas in the world, but at some point, you're going to run out of gas, At some point, hospitals will become overburdened and inundated with people. If you have marginal health, it's going to be hard, so you definitely want to take care of your health. And let's see what else. They tend to blow up rail lines, and they tend to sabotage equipment and fuel supplies. They destroy highways. This has happened in other countries. They blow bridges up. So they want a situation. You can see they want a situation where people can be dependent on them. And you don't want to depend on them. You don't want to be in a FEMA food line. You don't want to be, getting your food from them. You don't want to get anything from them. Like even when they had the Cuban crisis, all the major cities were, all the markets were clean. Well, we have that here now, So they say, the food supply is confiscated by the military to feed. They use that to feed their own soldiers. Okay? And so that can happen, in a matter of, you see how this whole thing changed on a dime. Since was it March this thing started? Everything changed. Everything changed. Let's say you want to light your house. Of course, if you have a national blackout, you don't want to be the only one with lights, because guess what? That's going to attract zombies. Zombies will be attracted to your house. So you might have light, you might have candles, but what good is a candle going to do if you have everybody else without lights?
Right.
But if you have a minor power outage, fine. But maybe you want to have some goggles where you can see in the dark. But you don't want to have candles. But if you do have candles, I do know of a way you can have a 72-day candle. It burns like if you burn it 8 hours a day, you can get a 72-day candle, which is a long time. If you have like a big, those 6-gallon containers of Crisco,
Yeah.
you take the 6-pound container of Crisco. You take that, and then you get 2 long candles, and then you insert the candles all the way to the bottom of the. You space them out and you insert them into the bottom of the Crisco, and then you just light the candles, and those candles last forever because you're utilizing the the fat from the candle to keep the thing burning.
Right.
So, but this is the other thing. When Dr. Malachi Z. York, aka Founder of Abianoon, built this community down in Georgia, people from the city, the city slickers were too good to go to the country. And the city slickers were like, I want to go back, this is for the birds. I don't want to live on beautiful farmland and live in a pristine environment and in a culture that's devoid of drugs and alcohol and all these other, enticements, if you want to call it that. And that's what he was trying to get us acclimated to natural living for a reason back in the 90s. Okay? And that was one of the most beautiful places, one of the most peaceful places. You go to that place and you see the beautiful pyramids and the beautiful harmonics of the music that he created. That was it just put you in an immediate relaxed state, and it was like going from a world of chaos, stepping out of the world of chaos and into a world of indescribable peace and tranquility. So that's what I experienced. So what else did they tell us? Let me see. Download this. What else do I have for you guys? So you get the water. Now, I read about if you guys know how to purify water, because that could be really important, because if you have no garbage trucks running, disease is going to be rampant. So you have to be very careful about the water you drink. So how do you purify water? How did they purify water back in the day? There was a variety of ways that they purify water back, say when they were doing their explorations and going from there to here, and they were on their ships. How did they purify water for those long voyages that they took when they came to America? And actually this has been done for thousands of years. They would have these water barrels, and they would find out that after a time the water would become infected with algae and that type of growth, and the water was basically not safe to drink. So they found out that by dumping some gunpowder into the actual barrel of water, they could purify the water that way. And then they found out that the gunpowder could, because it contained charcoal, the charcoal was actually used to purify the water too. But it doesn't purify all different pathogens, but it does make it clarifies it and makes it safe for you to drink, but it doesn't necessarily purify it of all pathogens, because if you drink water, if you're in the wild, if you're drinking water, you have to be very careful about drinking the water, even if it's, let's say you're on an island and you crash on a plane, you still have to purify that water, because that water can actually poison you, and poison water can actually make you sick, and they can actually kill you. So those are some of the ways they purified the water. But some of the other things they did was, what else did they do? Of course, you can purify water with bleach. And then they also purify water with, I think for every gallon of water, they found out that they could use silver coins. Back in that day, they used silver coins to purify water. And of course, if you want to have a way to kill the disease, you can purify your own water by making your own colloidal silver. And you can make your own colloidal silver by creating your own device that creates silver. That produces there's actually devices you can buy that produce colloidal silver, and colloidal silver has been used, according to so many people, to heal all types of diseases. Because there was a time, there was a time that they would advertise these colloidal silver devices. Let me see. Hold on. Let me pull this up real quick. No, that's not it. Oh, wrong bookmark. Nope, wrong bookmark. Hold on a second. Yeah, actually, if you guys know anything about Rockefeller, what he had with his Rockefeller when he changed over there was a time when they taught natural healing in the schools, in the colleges, and he actually went into the colleges, bought the colleges out, um, and he provided them with these with money. And the only condition was that they would have to replace or include some of his advisors on their board of directors, and also they had to completely gut that old curriculum that dealt with homeopathy and natural healing. They had to get rid of that, and so he overturned the entire curriculum, and that's why we have the curriculum now. But back in the day, they would teach about silver, and they talked about how silver was used to. I mean, there were so many different products that they used to with silver to eliminate all types of disease, parasites, all types of things. And let's see here. But that's something you guys might want to consider. Colloidal silver, the cure for disease. Nope, that's not it. I'm just going kind of off the cuff here. Yeah, I'm just.
No problem, brother. We're hanging out.
Okay. Another thing you guys might want to do, something that's really important to make, is charcoal. If you make your own charcoal, you have something that could be used for. That's something that everybody used to have in their cabinet back in the day. But charcoal is very inexpensive to make. Lump charcoal, basically. You can use it to manufacture different things. Of course, you can use it to make soap, but that would be the old-fashioned way to make soap, which is very labor-intensive. But if you basically, if you have an outdoor, like a backyard, you can find an area where you can build an outdoor fire, and what you want to do is basically, get a metal drum, and then you can get a large drum or a drum as big as you want, depending on how much charcoal you want to make. And then, of course, you get some, you pick out the different type of wood that you want, maybe the oak wood or hickory. And then you fill the drum up with to the top with the wood. And then you have another drum that you put that in, and you stick holes in the other drum. And you actually burn that, and that produces a lot of charcoal, these black bricks. And then you take the charcoal, and you can use that. It has great medicinal value. If you don't believe me, go online and look up charcoal. Look up the charcoal book. It'll tell you all about all the different things that charcoal is used for. But again, like I had a friend. Well, first of all, I had a cousin. One of my cousins died of a heroin overdose. And the first thing they gave him when they went to the hospital was they pumped his system out with charcoal. And I have another, not friend, but an acquaintance. This person said that when he was a kid, or when he was a child, he drank a lot of alcohol, and he became alcoholic. And he said that the first thing they gave him when he went to the hospital was charcoal. They gave him a charcoal solution. So charcoal has great medicinal value. And again, I mean, you can't, like I said, you can't depend on these folks, and you definitely don't want to go into the hospitals, because the hospitals, you see what they're doing. You see what that these nurses have been saying about what they're doing to people in the hospitals.
Of course. It was a slaughterhouse.
Said that they're killing people in the hospitals. They're literally killing people. And even doctors have said that those ventilators are killing people. It's just amazing. All this information is available. We live in a sea of information, and yet we're awash in so much ignorance. That's the irony of the thing. Some people, for their house, they buy these tanks. They call them what do they call these tanks? They call them Sure water tanks. It's a 260-gallon water tank, and it's about 32 inches deep, about 28, it's like over 28 inches wide, 86 inches tall, empty at 78 pounds. And it's manufactured in the USA. I know that this company called Sure Water, they manufacture that. And it carries contains a lot of water. So, of course, if you have this type of stuff in your house and people want that, then you have to have, this presupposes that you have the means of protecting it. So, if you have silver and gold, that's great. Silver and gold will be good for a time, but after time, even that will be worthless. What's going to be valuable are commodities. And silver and gold will be worthless. It's good for now, but let's see what else. So we talked about water, we talked about charcoal, we talked about the zapper. Let's see.
But here in the United States, it's going to be a wrap because they have this place so well surveilled, with their electronic means and surveillance and underground stuff and stuff over the air and whatever you try to do. I mean, even if you move out of the city, way out, they can still monitor you. It's nothing to them,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they can still monitor you. That's true. There's some people that have bought, they went to this site called Websterant. On Websterant, they bought these 50-pound bags of oatmeal. Now, oatmeal is not a glamour food, but it's something that can fill you. But a 50-pound bag of oatmeal with maybe some nuts or something, like sunflower seeds, that company sells that type of stuff. I'm not working for them. I'm not advertising for them. I'm just telling you guys about some of the things that I've seen and what I've run across. But in a situation like, what they had in, say, Venezuela, where the economy went south, things like kidnappings increase because you got a lot of desperate people. They have no other means of acquiring money. Pets go missing. People start stealing, hunting. Of course they start. In Venezuela, people were hunting dogs, cats, and pigeons.
Wow.
Yes. Yep. So it's good, of course, to know how to fish. If you have a fishing hook and a fishing line, that would be great to have. Of course, you need some bait for a fish. And I mentioned water quality. Water quality will drop. Water quality, the most important thing you'd be concerned about would be water, food, and shelter. And of course, people will be riding in the streets. There'll be more carjackings, more people jacking cars, Hospitals, I mentioned that. They become overcrowded, and then they start rationing gasoline, too. And of course, your bank, you can forget about going to a bank.
Right.
And then the master teacher told us many years ago that gang activity, he said the gangs will be taking over America. Because you'll have, and then he said that America will be divided into tribes and nations, clans and tribes. So you want to be identified with a group, because there's safety in numbers. And then you have a lot of course, I mentioned martial law. People eating almost anything to survive. Do you know what people ate during the Depression to survive? Do you know what they ate?
I can imagine.
Imagine what they ate. This is what they ate, and it sustained them. You won't believe this. Can you imagine what they ate? One of the things that they ate, do you know that certain trees are edible? They have edible flesh that can provide nutritional value. Certain trees, like certain spruce trees, like if I remember correctly, yellow spruce, black spruce, black fir, then there's another type of fir, and then various types of evergreen or pine trees. Especially in the spring, they have more nutritional value. And that flesh can be boiled, it can be turned into chips, It can be baked or ground into bread. So people during the Great Depression, they were eating what they call famine bread. So they would go to these trees and they would source the bark. And of course, the tree has three layers. It has the bark, then you have the middle green layer, and then you have the white, soft, fleshy layer. That's the layer that you eat. And there's certain trees that I'm not advocating people go out and do this trees. I'm just saying this is what they did, and maybe in a crunch, maybe this could save your life. I don't know. I just know that they had bark bread or famine bread, as they called it, and it allowed them to survive. Some of them made soups with it. So there's certain trees. So, that type of knowledge that the Native Americans had about the land and the terrain,
Invaluable.
Invaluable. Knowledge of how to, navigate. There's, let me see here, how to navigate. Yeah, you can make a compass, you can make a compass by getting, you can use the stars, of course. If you use the stars, I have a book called The Lost Ways. The Lost Ways talks about that. You can use, it shows you how to identify different stars, and so that you know whether you're going north or south. It shows you how to make a compass. To make a compass, of course, you just get a metal sewing needle, you get a cork or a plastic bottle cap, you get a bar magnet, a sticky tack, then you get a shallow dish of water, maybe a sharp knife or scissors, and then then you just you just magnetize the needle, and then there's a way you just put that on the dish of water, and then that can be a compass, and that can show you true north and true south. Then of course you can also use the moon. The moon can guide you at night too.
Right.
So but those are the types of things that we used to know how to do, but we forgot how to do. So what else can you do?
What do you think about capturing water? Of course, you're going to have a big container that you can see, but if you
It's a great way to get water, but I know that in certain places they don't want you doing that because again they want a welfare state. And one of these days I'm going to talk about that in some great detail about how that came about. 1933 started everything. FDR, they installed the welfare state on the American people. They did everything in stages. And they basically wanted people to be dependent on them. I also found out one thing that these guys did to stay alive. Let's say you had an army, say Napoleon's army, or any army, a Civil War army. You know what they subsisted on and that they lived? And you didn't necessarily have to have like a full course meal, but they call these things hardtack biscuits, pilot bread. They call it sea biscuits, ship's biscuits, because when you're at sea and you're going from across the Atlantic, you have to have a way to have food that could be available when, during that long voyage that would be non-perishable. So what they did was they took this bread, which is basically bread and water, flour, water, and salt. No other types of ingredients, because when you add other ingredients, the perishability goes up. But if you make that type of bread, you have to bake it, and just basically you're baking all of the fluid out of the bread. So you have to make it hard. You bake it once, and then you rebake it, and then you bake it again, and then you bake it a fourth time.
Right.
And then after you do that, they get so hard that they become what they call hardtack biscuits. Now, I wouldn't advise you to do that if you have bad teeth, because if you do that, it'll take your teeth right out. But one thing that they did to eat that bread was they took the bread and they would mix it with water to make a mush. Doesn't sound appetizing, but it kept them alive. Or they would take that and dip it in coffee, dip it in their whatever fluid or drink that they were drinking. And that was their meal. And they would do that for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. Not to say that you need to eat 3 times. That's their concept of how we should live. we're living by another man's, set of laws, and those laws do not apply to us because we have a completely different physiology. Our biochemistry is different. The way we metabolize things is different. You know, we're just a different, we're just a different group of people. So, um, but yeah, that's what fed people, those soldiers during, war for thousands of years. They called it hardtack biscuits. And let's see, you can store a lot of those, and they'll last for years, years, if you store them properly. Now, I know when people store their food, that's another thing. Let's say you want to store some beans or some rice. You go to what do you call it? At Home Depot. You go to Home Depot. You buy those 5-gallon food grade. Important that you get food grade containers. You can also get them from supermarkets if they let you in. Go to a supermarket while they're still open, or you go to a go to Home Depot. You get those 5-gallon food grade containers. You wash them out, and then you fill those up with your beans, or you fill those. This is for long-term storage.
Right.
You fill those up with your beans, or you fill that up with your rice, and or you fill that up with your oatmeal or whatever type of staple foods you have. Because the staple foods that you want to have are things like rice, or actually beans, any type of beans. And then you want to. There's a couple of ways to make sure that they don't become bug infested. Because what you want to do is you want to get those 5-gallon containers. You want to get the cover that goes with that, and you want to make sure that thing is completely sealed.
Yes.
That's what you want to do. You want to push the air out, and you want to make sure it's sealed. But before you even seal it, you need to put some spices in there called bay leaves. I read up on that. You need to put bay leaves in there because bay leaves allows you to have that for long-term storage. The other option is to take those staples, and you can use what they call those mylar food wraps. The mylar bags, those bags where if you buy that type of survival food and it's already like dehydrated or dried, and they have those plastic bags and all the oxygen has been pressed out of it. That's what those bags are. And you basically just you put the food in there, you iron the bag shut, and you seal the oxygen out.
You know the funny thing? The minute you said that, my auntie in the chat room mentioned that. The very second
Really?
you came, yeah, Mylar bags are good too. The very second you
Wow.
I had to break it and let you know that we're on one accord here. And what I want
That's
to do
right.
also is make a list of this. If anybody who's
Hmm.
listening wants to jot this down, because I'm multitasking while I'm listening, but that way I can drop in the middle and envy and people can get that list. It's just a quick list, or maybe I can just put a section there and everybody just add in until we have that list, so no one person has to feel
Yeah.
that pressure.
I can drop the list that I have to you too.
Yeah, yeah. Let's just keep on building up on that list. As a matter of fact, I'm going to build another forum in there just for that. What I think I already have one with survival skills. Let me just check, and I'll announce that. But we got to bring all of this information collectively, and we can go deep. It doesn't have to be just one little thing. Drop a
Hmm.
lot of it in explanation, reference links, and stuff like that, so we can collectively put everything together. But go ahead, brother. I'll work on that now.
Okay. Another thing that we can consider. But yeah, so food storage is very important. You want to get staples. You don't want to get. There's certain types of food that you want to get. There's certain food that you don't want to get. Let me see if I have a list. Food. I'll come back to that, but I'm going to go to this thing on the edible tree bark.
Yeah. Before you do, let me just say we do have a section there called survival and preparedness. Survival and
Oh,
preparedness. And I think
and where's that at?
that's on Melanin Envy, the different forms over
Oh,
there.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
Hmm.
I just added on as we need. Also, somebody asked about, the book club. I call it the Forbidden Knowledge Book Club. You can drop your
Hmm.
links there for different books and participate. I'm setting these things up because I'm so pushed to the limit with the editing and everything running, all these different factions that I provide this so that we can go on and add stuff
Hmm.
in because lots of times people ask me something, I try my best to do it. And if I don't do it, I get the riot act. They get angry at me. So it's like, here, listen. Here's the place that you can do it. Run with
Hmm.
it. Add as much as you want.
Hmm.
So we do have a
Okay.
section there. But go ahead, brother.
I was just mentioning the bark, about the bark bread that they call it. Now, there's certain types of, you, you definitely want to identify the right types of trees, but you definitely don't want to eat the bark, I mean, because bark, uh, certain parts of trees, like the fleshy part of, like, say, a yew tree, the fruit would be toxic. So you need to know what types of trees you can use. Like I mentioned the birch, and a lot of those birch trees looks just like evergreen trees, pine trees. Um, so you want to make sure you identify the trees properly. But I'll have a link for something like that. And let's see. So we got the food storage part. We talked about that. Um, Another thing that's really that you can do in your house. Now, it won't fill you up, but it will give you a lot of nutrient dense food. You people have heard of wheatgrass, right? Or let's see, wheatgrass. You also have what they call sprouts. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, great. Well, with sprouts are great. I have a couple books by what's her name? Uh, Wigmore. Her name was Wigmore. She was healing all these people with different diseases, and all of a sudden she died in a mysterious fire. Her fire burned her house down, and she died in a fire. But she wrote these books about how these impotent bulls would have these male bulls would have become impotent, and how they would have their potency restored from wheatgrass, and how people would subsist, like say a person that walked cross country, they would subsist solely on wheatgrass.
Wow.
And how wheatgrass is used to it can clean your blood out. It can be used to heal many different diseases. She was a basket case. She had all types of diseases, and she healed all of her diseases.
We grow a lot of that. Mrs. Scurv has a whole crap load of that. And we grow
Really?
it. And it's just it's a very powerful thing. And it's nice
Mm-hmm.
when you see it in these health food stores and you eat a little bit and it's so expensive. I mean, you can just pull off as much as you want and just
Ridiculously
yeah.
expensive. Ridiculous.
I'm telling you, man, it's crazy.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. But it has a lot of nutrients. It's very dense, and it does not require direct sunlight, because direct sunlight kills.
Yeah.
Well, I know direct sunlight kills sprouts, and it may be the same for wheatgrass, but I have a wheatgrass book too. But sprouts are also very important, because with sprouts, all you need to do is collect some sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, black-eyed peas, navy beans, different types of beans, chickpeas, and in a matter of 24 to 48 hours, you have full-grown sprouts that are very nutrient dense, and you can grow those in trays. You can also grow them in mason jars, but they're either way. You can grow them either way. I would prefer trays because you have more, and they grow so quickly, and it's not going to fill you up, but like I said, it'll be nutrition. You make it real skinny, depending on how this thing goes. But like I said, I don't depend on them for anything. I don't trust them. They don't. They look at what they're doing to their own. So you know what they'll do to us. Let's say you have a situation where the water is shut off. If the water is shut off, you live in a house, you still have access to some water, or a lot of water that you get from your boiler. And all you have to do is use I think a screwdriver you use, or a wrench, and you just twist it and the water comes out, and that's drinkable water. Now, if you haven't been flushing that water, then it needs to be filtered. But if you've been flushing that every 6 months, no biggie, no big deal. You can drink that. And then also another source of water for homes would be the water that's in that reservoir that's in the toilet. Not in the toilet, but the reservoir that holds the water before it even goes into the toilet. That water can be drinkable too. So of course, that's an extreme measure, but I mean, you never know. That water would be available.
You get thirsty enough, you drink some toilet water.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, whatever. whatever you need to do to survive. I mean, what else? Let's say that if you can't use a toilet, how are you going to go to the bathroom? Well, you still have that 5-gallon container, right? And you can also get that, that foamy material that they have that you can buy from Office Depot, that foam-like material that's very comfortable to sit on.
Right.
You can cut out a piece of that and put that on top of your makeshift toilet, your 5-gallon container, and that's a toilet now.
Well, you know what though? I mean, that should be a no-brainer. Give me some
That's a
soil
no-brainer.
and give me a
Yes.
shovel. Because the best
Yeah.
way to do a number two is to
Mhm.
squat completely. The toilet bowl has brought many problems to us as human beings because
Yes.
that's not the proper position to get everything out. You understand?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we should get away from that anyway. We should be squatting all the way down. They have, and this
Mhm.
is partially off topic, they have contraptions that fit around the toilet bowl that you can put your feet just outside of the actual
Mhm.
bowl and squat down all the way. You have less problems down to the ears, and it's the
Mhm.
most healthiest way to go to the bathroom because you get it all out. So
Yes.
I don't. I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying I don't. Just give me a shovel and let me go dig a hole and do what I got to do.
Yes.
And that's
And
fertilizer.
that's a great way. Yeah, it's a fertilizer. It's a great way to do that. And let me see. Did I mention you guys can make candles out of a pine tree? There's resin that you can get from the pine tree. You can make candles from that. The resin that comes from the pine tree is antiseptic, and actually different insects use those antiseptic properties, like ants when they want to keep the interior of their ant colony clean. Guess what they do? They go and get those hard pieces of amber, and they distribute that throughout their colony to keep their colony clean. That's what ants do. So, but anyway, this if you go to a different, like a pine tree, you can collect the resin from a pine tree, and that resin is really thick, and the resin can be mixed with charcoal, and that charcoal with that resin makes super glue. Super glue. So, but it makes a very very good wax for candles too. And this is all in that book I told you about, The Lost Ways. I ordered that online, so online I got. And there's many other really good books you can have on that, but
But I tell you though, I mean, even though it may seem to be something so inconvenient, what we have to do in changing over, no matter how
mhm.
the world is going, but I am in my heart 100% sure that we're going to have to utilize every bit of these techniques and just different ways of living, which we
Yes.
had to come through anyway. We have become so soft with the
Mhm.
conveniences, so-called conveniences, which are not conveniences. If you go back to the old way, you'll have better nutrition, you'll live better,
Mhm.
your body will live
Yes.
better. Because one thing that was brought up before, Brother Quaker said it, someone else said it, that even look at the homeless people who are out in the street, who are out in the cold, who are out in the elements. Some of them may be sickly because of things they're doing otherwise, but their immune systems
Mhm.
are very strong because they're out there. And even though they may be
Mhm.
eating bad food and doing different things, they are so tough, a lot of them.
Yes.
And if you're
Yes.
not, and you end up out there, it's going to make you or break you. So we need to become rugged again and become one with
Mhm.
nature and vibe with nature. And all these frivolous things are past the catch up, or let me throw this thing in the microwave, or let me lay down with a pillow. I mean, you could do things, but you know, a lot of it is just making us so soft.
Yeah. Microwave. I've never even allowed a microwave in my house. Never used a microwave.
Oh no, right?
Yeah, we become soft, and it's time for us to have a reset too. And that this freak wants to this I call him a girly man because it's nothing masculine about him at all. That Bill Gates guy that guy with the
I
glasses,
know,
that guy.
I know.
Nothing about that. He doesn't have an ounce of testosterone in him. Nothing about that. He doesn't have an ounce of testosterone in his body. I probably have more testosterone in the tip of my finger than he has in his entire body.
Exactly, exactly. I I've noticed it about
and
him.
he wants to block the sun out because the sun is not beneficial for his kind. We were told that in the millennium, the new millennium, over this 1,000-year period, if you don't have melanin, you won't be able to survive anyway.
There you go. They don't push
Because, you know,
they don't tell that too much now.
that's why he wants to block the sun out. Because it's not made for him. He's not natural.
Oh wow, how condescending, how self-centered.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what though?
Mm-hmm.
If they did that, there will be something. First of all, you're not going to change nature. You're not going to shift nature. If they could do that, there's something else that's going to go. Because the goal for the sun is to get rid of them. If nature wants to get rid of you, let's just
Check this out.
be blunt. It's going to get rid of you.
Check this out. You're absolutely right. Check this out. You're a herbivore and you're eating. You're a herbivore and you're eating from a certain species of plant life. Say a certain tree. Let's say you're a giraffe. You're a giraffe now. You're eating from a tree. Guess what the tree does to defend itself? Guess what it does? The tree produces. There's different ways. They have an internal security defense or an immune system, if you want to call it that, and they also have an external security force.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, the trees. They produce what they call tannin, or tannins, tannins, and tannin is poison. And they produce the tannin because that prevents the animal from eating all of their leaves and killing the entire tree.
Wow.
So that's why you see the giraffes, when they consume the leaves, they go from tree to tree. They don't eat just from one tree, because by that time they'll be dead. And then people used to wonder, why do these parrots go to these trees and they eat the leaves that are poisonous and they don't get sick? Well, they go get the next best thing. They go to a certain bed of charcoal and they consume the charcoal, and the charcoal neutralizes all of the poisons. All of the poisons. And so that's the external security force. Well, no, I'm sorry, the internal part of the immune system of the tree. So the tree also does this, and this relates to what you were saying about Mother Earth getting some help. The tree sends out a 911 alert to insects, and these insects are recruited to come to the tree to prevent other insects from consuming the leaves on that tree.
Wow.
And they come and they so if that happens on the microcosmic level on the planet Earth, and the Earth is a living entity, and that's a component or a section of the Earth,
right,
then what do you think the planet Earth is doing with regard to communicating to the cosmos?
Look at that. Wow.
So yes, nature will be receiving reinforcements,
Yes.
but we still got work to do.
Beautifully said.
Nature will be receiving, and they will be removed from the planet. Because their ancestors, their Cro-Magnon, gone. The original version of them, gone. Neanderthal, gone. They're next, because they're not even fully what they claim to be. They're mixed.
That's beautiful, though. I mean, that's beautiful when you think about how they terrorize us and want to run things and destroy things and keep us from seeds, keep us from water, keep us, turn us against each other. And on that level, there are things that they have no concept of, that they cannot stop all over the planet. It's gonna. It may come to a point where tornadoes will just drop on them, or insects will eat them up, go after them. The more they do this, they're really storing up charges against themselves. If the world would just wipe them out, and we wouldn't have to lift a finger.
Exactly, and it will. It will.
On such a divine level.
Yeah. It may not happen the way we want it to happen, but it's happening.
Yes.
Nature does things in divine order, you know. So, but back to the salmon bread. Salmon bread, bark bread. It says here, bark bread is a common form of survival food. Many would ask if tree inner bark is really edible. And the answer to that is yes. It is actually a safe and nutritious wild food as long as you're using the right part of the bark from the right species of tree. The edible part of the tree bark is the cambium layer, C-A-M-B-I-U-M, which lies right next to the tough inner wood. Edible and safe bark can be harvested from trees, the most common being pine trees, slippery elm, black birch, yellow birch, red spruce, black spruce, balsam fir, and tamarack barks are also some of the trees with the specific bark you're going to look for. So there are other trees too. So the light inner bark of a pine tree is harvested in the spring. In the spring, when the bark is more easily removed from the tree trunk. Another reason why it's best to harvest in the spring is because the vitamin content of the bark is highest then. So this tells you actually how to harvest and prepare it, how to identify the tree species, how you should only take narrow portions, vertical portions from the tree, how you shave off the gray outer bark, and then you get to the greenish middle part of the bark, and then you get to the rubbery white or the cream colored layer. And you don't want to shave too deeply in that. But then you peel off the whitish rubbery inner bark, and then you dry that bark on a rack or a flat rack, and should take a day to dry the bark strips. And then, of course, you can eat the bark as soon as you've harvested it, or you can boil it, fry it, make bar snacks, and you can also turn the bark into flour. You know, you only need to dry it for a day, and then you pound it until it turns into powder. So you can use a stone for that, or a mortar and a mortar and mill, and it will look more like oatmeal though when you do it. And you can add the bark to the flour when you make, different types of foods and breakfast and all that stuff. But in during the different wars they fought in the 20th century, they were talking about how they use bark to add nutrition to their daily rations. So there's ways you can, things. So basically, this is forcing us to go back to Mother Earth. Forcing us. We need to go back anyway.
You ain't lying.
Yep. And then of course there's other things. If you have what they call that guide. There's a guide you can get to identify different types of plant species. Like there's certain types of food you can eat all year round, like cattails. Cattails grow everywhere. It's a perennial herb. Grows all year round. And there's different, and you know what cattails looks like, right?
Not exactly. I probably see it, know it, don't know
They're
it.
brown. They're brown and they're long, and they grow from the tip of a stalk. And then sometimes you see white, like cottony type material coming out of it.
Yeah, no, I got you.
They grow near water. They like shallow water and marshlands best. So with cattails, you can use that. They're very nutritious. When it's cold, you can dig up the roots. You can roast them, and it tastes like a sweet potato or squash. And you can do that on an open fire. That's right from the land. In the spring, you can dig up the roots and find the dormant sprouts, and those are edible too. The young stalks, they can be eaten raw. And you can also boil the sprouts. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do with that. So, of course, you got dandelion. Dandelion is very important. And let's see here. There's a lot. Of course, I would also tell people about cayenne pepper. Cayenne pepper, if somebody gets shot, one of the best ways to stop a person from bleeding to death is to pack it with cayenne pepper, because cayenne pepper pulls, it actually attracts blood, because blood is what really heals you, not the cayenne pepper.
Right.
The blood, actually, the action of the blood migrating to that particular injury site is what facilitates or speeds up or accelerates the healing. And that's what cayenne pepper does. Cayenne pepper basically is like an automobile, and if you use that in conjunction with any herb, it'll basically drive the herb to the places where it needs to go. That was the analogy that I got when I read about that. But cayenne pepper is very powerful. Cayenne pepper alone is all you would need. You make tinctures with that.
Yeah.
And
here's another one.
Oh, what's that?
No, I was speaking to Dr. King, and he was telling me a story about a gentleman who was in his midst over a period of time regularly. every day of some kind of convention or something like that. And he told the guy the symptoms that he had that, you're very prone very soon to having a heart attack. I didn't believe him.
Wow.
Didn't believe him. So when he was feeling, he can tell the story better, but he was feeling really bad and it was about to happen.
Mhm.
So Dr. Kane got all of this cayenne pepper and mixed it up and fed it to him somehow, in water or whatever have you, and it actually
Yeah, yeah,
prevented the heart attack. That's what he said.
yes,
And later on, when they
yes.
checked him out, they're like, listen, if this man wasn't here, you would have had this heart attack. And the way it was coming, you might not have been here. So these natural
Wow.
things are so powerful.
Yeah.
The other thing is that we need to get back into the science of herbs because
Hmm.
just like the simple thing where you're taking turmeric and you add black pepper to it, and it makes the turmeric really like 50 million times, not that amount, but really strong and more
Hmm.
effective. So
I heard about that.
there are things that you can add to certain things
Hmm.
that you take.
Yeah.
Nature doesn't work on its own like that. It does when you take this or take that,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
everything has other things that you can add to it in certain combinations that really make it directed to an issue that you have in the body. But that science is
Hmm.
lost now. You know,
Hmm.
a brother like Dr. King may know, but it's it's not like as common as it used to be.
No, it's not.
And the pharmaceutical companies are going out into places like Africa, South America, into the Caribbean, and finding these guys who really know the science of it from the
Right.
motherland and from even
Hmm.
here with Native Americans, and
Yes.
they're paying the money to shut up and not share. They're making a synthetic thing that's toxic to your body with a natural thing that's not. Look at how the giraffes would eat different things to stop the tannin from hurting it.
Hmm.
This whole place in nature is like a super science laboratory, but we look down on that and we've been convinced that, let's just say it, the white man's laboratories are superior. They're not superior to nature, they're killing us.
Hmm. Hmm. They're vastly inferior. Yeah, they're inferior to. They can't even hold a candle to
Exactly.
what nature can do. Can't even hold a candle,
We're
and they
brainwashed.
all have side effects. They all have side effects. And medicine is nothing but a religion anyway. Modern medicine is a religion.
Yep.
Now, the well, we're going to have to do that because the alternative is to depend on them and eat their food. Like you go to KFC. You ever notice why KFC is KFC and not Kentucky Fried Chicken no more?
Exactly. I heard about that.
Or what's the other one? KFC. There's another one. They call themselves something other than what they are. Like KFC, and you heard about that report about 9 million pounds of rat meat being approved for sale by the government. 9 million pounds of rat meat. And then you probably heard about the plant-based human meat that's now appearing in Europe. It's for sale. Plant-based human meat.
Plant-based human meat.
Yes.
So these are people who are vegans or plant-based, and it's cannibalism. Is that what that means?
Yeah. Exactly.
This is human meat.
Well,
This is crazy.
well, what do you think collagen is? Collagen. They put collagen in their skin products.
Mm-hmm.
People and our women are buying their products, and the collagen comes from dead fetuses.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think they're getting the collagen from?
Mm-hmm.
They're body snatchers. They've always been body snatchers.
Mm-hmm. The invasion
And
of
then
the
they
body
passed
snatchers.
another thing. Right. What was the other thing that they passed? They're actually killing the cattle. These farmers are saying that the government is making them destroy cattle,
Wow.
creating creating a meat shortage. Purposeful creation of a meat shortage. Just like if you go back to the French Revolution, they say that they have this uprising, this organic uprising of the masses that overthrew this tyrannical king, which was not even the case. Marie Antoinette was the one that was so frivolous that she said, "Make them eat cake." Well, that came from Old Testament. Old Testament engineered that whole damn thing and overthrew that king and chopped his head off at the guillotine. Was it him that they cut off at the guillotine, or King Charles the First? They sent him to the guillotine, and Marie Antoinette too. And guillotines are part of Noahide laws. Old Testament laws.
Mm.
Yeah, they engineered the whole thing. So what they did was they set up a purposefully planned famine. And they had their agents in place, and they have their provocateurs in place, just like they have their provocateurs here in America, like Antifa. Antifa can walk around with guns and weapons, and nobody arrests them. They don't get arrested. And then you hear about these things called these rent-a-mob type places where you can pay money and you can rent a mob of people, like what a George Soros would do with the Black Lives Matter, using them for his own, using them as shock troops. Him and the Antifa shock troops, and that's just they did the same thing during the French Revolution. French Revolution, they imported these German, the Hessian ruffians, roughnecks. It wasn't the common people that put that revolution forth. It was a group of people that were imported from another country. They lie so much, man. They don't, like I said, it's compounded fraud, lies on steroids, just like compound interest is compounded fraud. That's how you got to look at it. Let's see what else I can give you guys. Don't snooze on that charcoal. Charcoal is more powerful than you think. Charcoal is a lot of things in your body are positively charged that are negative for your body, like illnesses, diseases, microorganisms. They're positively charged, whereas the charcoal is negatively charged, if I'm remembering correctly. And opposites attract, so it attracts what it absorbs those types of materials, and then it allows it to be flushed out of the body. That's why charcoal is beneficial for so many different types of poisons. It's also good for using charcoal to make poultices, like dressings for your let's say you have a disease and your face the right side of your face is wasting away from, say, some flesh-eating disease. You put the charcoal pack on your face, and your face will be restored as good as new. It happened to a horse. A horse had its face was eaten away by some type of flesh-eating disease, and they used charcoal packs, and the horse was restored. Good as new. But people are, these are not fashionable types of things to do. They're not exotic. They're not cutting edge,
Exactly. They're not the pretty bottle that says, and you get this reduced amount. I mean, it's crazy. You have all these things so abundant in the motherland. You go out in the country, you see so many things that you pay for and pay a lot of money for that's in great abundance. And I'm like, you feel ripped off. Like, wait a second.
That really bothers me. That bothers me. When I see Africans breaking their neck to come over here, thinking that they have died and gone to heaven.
Yes.
And how when you watch some of their movies, they're embracing Western values. Western values have nothing to give you but death and destruction.
That's right.
If they give their people death and destruction and degenerative diseases and all types of ailments and whatnot, what do you think it's going to give you? But they get the glamorous side of America, and then they just, I know there was one girl I was dating before. She was from Africa, beautiful sister. And she was a nurse, and I asked her about natural remedies and stuff, and I asked her, first question I asked her, she didn't know anything about what she talked about what her grandmother would do and go to the bush and all this stuff and use remedies and stuff, and I said, so why don't you utilize that right now? Bottom line is that she felt that Western science was superior to that. She didn't say it. She didn't have to say it.
Right.
But that was the end of our relationship right there.
Of course.
I mean, this is a real African. I'm thinking I can be a bona fide African sister.
Right.
Dark skin, like real dark. I'm like, man. But she didn't have nothing upstairs. And I'm not faulting her, but it's a lot of our people, they get seduced. Like I mentioned earlier, we've been seduced by this catalyzing agent. They're catalyzing agents because they're the ones who suggest and entice us, and then we voluntarily, as the active ingredient, we allow them to do it. we allow them to entrap us. So there's two parts to, takes two to tango. And we've been tangoing for far too long. Now it's time for you to separate and be your damn self. Be yourself. Embrace your own ways that make sense.
And you'll resonate with the planet better. You'll become part of this breathing, living entity called
Mm-hmm.
Earth and everything
Mm-hmm.
on it. Your
Mm-hmm.
instincts will increase, your vibration will
Mm-hmm.
increase.
Yep.
You'll be protected when you
Yep.
move about this earth in a loving manner. The insects will
Yes.
protect you, the animals will protect you. You'll be
They sure
the
will.
food will come to you like it comes to them. But see, we've abandoned that because we want to pursue this engineered thing that they've convinced us is so far above. But like you said, it brings us
Right.
to death and destruction.
Yep.
Wow.
Guaranteed.
And there's also, from what I've learned and experienced, like I said, I'm not an expert on the motherland, and I only been there for about 3 weeks when I was there. But
Mm-hmm.
but it did see. I'm already intuitive. I'm already in tune that way and seeking out those other levels. It wasn't like I was resistant, and I went out there and said, "Come on, y'all, let's go to the club and get a few drinks." I didn't
Mm-hmm.
do that. Well, let's go
Who
here.
wants to do that?
But you have some Europeans and some of us who will do that, and some who are over there that would do that.
Yeah.
So, and
Well,
we see,
yeah.
and we seeking that out, especially myself and Brother Quaker, we walked around barefoot as much as we could. We went to certain villages away from
That's what
the
I
modern
want to do.
cities, and
Yeah.
there were places where it's okay, you have restrooms over there, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it's some backward thing the way they're trying to push it, but it was just like, okay, we are way out here, and
Mm-hmm.
these are concrete around it and holes in the ground, and you close the thing and you use newspaper, you squat. Now, I'm not saying that that is what's there. This modern cities, everything too now. Let's not get that
Mm-hmm.
wrong.
Of course.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
we went deep into places that we went to places where there was no electricity. We went to places where
Mm-hmm.
we did the whole thorough thing. And I
That's
tell
what
you,
I'm talking about.
and
That's what I'm like.
when we went to the Volta region, and that's the destination that we did when we went way out. When I saw them 2.5 hours driving on the side of the road, mangoes as far as you can see on both sides of the road. I can tell you one thing: there was no signal there, so I was like, "We're gonna be here for like 2.5 days. I won't be posting anything up." And I told people ahead
Wow.
of time, I said, "Listen, it might be that way." So some didn't get the message and thought something happened to us. But I'm gonna tell you right now, never did I sleep so deep when I was away from any cell tower, any.
Mm-hmm.
Some places nearby had it, but there were places that we went to that didn't have it at all, and it was a relief to get it off of me. The tensions that I didn't realize that I had, but when they left, I felt like, wait a second, where's that little funny feeling in my body? It was all gone.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's one particular night that I slept, and the sleep was so deep, and the peace and calm, and there was a window that had a screen over it, and I can hear the wildlife out there in the woods and the bushes and stuff. And it was such a sweet feeling. I said to myself, I never want to let this go. There's
Right.
nothing that America can bring to me or any modern city can bring to me like this. And
Yep.
I actually, not to sound corny or dramatic, because I cry easy. I laid there
Mm-hmm.
and tears flowed through my eyes, and I thanked the Creator for showing me this. And
Oh
that's one of
yeah.
the things that changed me. I wasn't sad, I was happy. I was like, man,
Yeah.
it was a cleansing of sorts. And I went to sleep. I slept so deep, and when I woke up in the morning earlier than I thought, because the sleep was such a quality sleep, because there's nothing near me electric,
Mm-hmm.
I was inhaling, and the air was so good, and it filled my lungs so deeply. I opened my eyes, and the colors looked vibrant. I'm like, what the heck
Wow.
is going on in America? Why I can't have this? There are things that they're doing to us in this atmosphere and environment that we just and the overwhelming feeling of love for everybody that I felt there. There was a video that I took of Quaker was dancing, I was dancing, a whole bunch of us were dancing, and they were beating drums. I don't know if anybody would remember that, but we didn't want to stop. I mean, I
Right.
just felt
Right.
men and women. Now, I'm not some sex freak or some bisexual. I'm saying like from the heart. The love I
Mm-hmm.
felt for the brothers and the love I felt for the sisters wasn't even a sex thing with them.
Right.
It was just like, wow, we are one. And this communicated between us because there were some who didn't really speak good English, but we spoke to each other and we had to sometimes use partial English or hand movements, but we felt so connected to each other. And I said, man, I said, this didn't change my life. And we would look at each other and smile and just break out laughing, and it was just so pure, you know.
No, that I would have probably the same experience, and I know that I just meet Africans, and they are good people, but a lot of them do not. Well, they equate modernity with progress. I'm like, those two do not necessarily go together. You know, progress with a car that pollutes the environment and it's going X number of miles an hour and it looks sleek and it's has the latest technology, and that's not necessarily progress. They've forgotten their own ways, a lot of them, and they've been seduced. They've been seduced just like we have.
Mm-hmm.
They have been seduced, and that saddens me though. But it also lets me know that we have a lot that we need to impart to them, and they have a lot to teach us too. There's a lot. I hate to see an Ethiopian walk down the street and then pass by a Somali. The Somali is Muslim. The Ethiopian is something else. Well, they might be Judaic, and then they walk past a person from South Africa. I'm like, that don't make no sense.
I know.
That don't make no sense. Nope. You guys are from the same continent, so they're gonna have to come together if they want to survive.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah, if they want to survive, they're gonna have to come together. Those tribal differences, because people always talk about what tribe they're from. I'm like, you know what, that's great, but really, I don't care about no tribes. I care about the big picture.
In one of our monthly meetings, there was a brother from Nigeria, a young brother. And I have it on videotape. I believe that I shot that video sometime last year, some point last year, and many might remember it. It was a Nigerian brother, young brother, probably in his early 20s, very muscular, kept himself in shape. And there were some other Nigerians who were there also. And when he got up, he spoke about how he can't stand how even in Nigeria, small areas that he's come from, that 1 mile down the road, this one is talking about my tribe, and 1 mile down the road, 2 miles down the road, oh, I'm part of this tribe. And although they can feign coming together for certain things, other things they're not going to come together on. And he said he's sick and damn tired of this while the colonial masters come in and exploit them for, on a tribal level. You know what I mean? And he, as a young man, was saying how that's got to stop. And so, those things are there. And then we have the religion, the Christianity over there, destroying the lives of people. So there's work to be done there. And a lot of them look to us. Now, there was another man who was there who had to be, I'd say in his 50s, or maybe he was like early 60s. Um, as his brother Quaker was speaking and others were speaking, and they can pretty much find out that we're not looking for the white Jesus Christ to come through the sky. This guy got up and we gave him a chance to speak. This guy broke out with a Bible and started reading about how we're going to be chastised for blaspheming, and nobody really. I mean, he was talking, but people just turned the other way, and it was like they
Was he in Africa?
yes, he was. No, this wasn't in Africa. It was here in Orlando. But I'm saying that is the mindset of many. They send over missionaries over to different countries. I mean, aggressive. I saw some. Look, we I forgot where we were, but we saw a bunch of They looked like nuns, but I don't know if they were or not. And they were lily white, skinny, middle-aged women, some young. And the funny thing about it is they can pick up your vibration. They knew in my spirit, I knew they knew what they were there for, to break down anything strong and African spirituality. Because when they're over there, they can tell the people from America, like say for example, a person like myself, even Brother Quaker didn't know that, oh, this guy's got to be from the Caribbean. But it's not even just that. It's the look in our eyes. And they looked over our way and they looked down. They had the nervous smile on, But then when they got down the road, they're talking to other Africans that are there because we're still in Africans, but they were so pleasant with them because they want to seduce them, but they knew that we knew the deal. There were some
Right.
other folks from the UK who were looking at us in a very arrogant fashion to the point where I stopped and I'm turning like, "What's up?" Like that.
Right. Exactly.
Like
Exactly.
I'm supposed to bow my head to you here in this land?
It's not happening.
It ain't happening.
That ain't happening.
And it's brothers like us that they don't want to have go over there and reinforce. You see what I mean?
They look at me. They do the same thing. They know I'm not the one. I'm not. I'm not that brother.
Hmm.
Now, I got somebody that can do that shuffle dance for you, but not me. I know a bunch of brothers that do that for you, but not this one. They don't play that with me.
No, not with me. They already know. They already know.
Right. Now, like I said, if they're kind to me, if a person is kind to me, I don't care who they are, what race, I'm going to be kind. I'm going to reciprocate.
Of course.
If they're my race and they're not doing right by me, then they got to get out of my face. I got to get away from them too. You know. But I'm taking some of these things here. I'm just recording some of them, and I'm going to send them out, like some of the things I talked about tonight. Because I mean, that's what we need to go back to. We need to go back to the planet. But like I said, back to the Africans. Yeah, it just saddens me to see. I don't know if you've ever watched an African movie before.
Oh yeah.
Those guys, they're really good actors and actresses, but like I said, the themes are always Christianity. The black woman's African hair is not good enough because at the end they always have their hair done in a perm that shows, indicates success and advancement. But they always start off with their hair not done, but at the end the hair is always permed, And a lot of Africans in for a rude awakening. Then they want to sell their land, their valuable land,
Unbelievable.
to the Chinese.
Sell it to me. Sell it to me. I'm looking for it.
Right, that beautiful, rich earth. Like when my grandfather passed away, my uncles, they became city slickers, I call them city slickers. They forgot about, the old ways and living down south, which, and I understand in certain ways they didn't want to go back because a lot of our people had to leave there because of persecution from those KKK demons. And so I understand that, but they didn't want anything to do with the house was sold, the land was sold. How could you give that house up? When my grandfather passed away, he didn't use banks. He had $100,000 in cash in his house, in old coins, silver dollars. He built a log cabin home from scratch. Amazing.
Well, once to me, it's a strategy, and communication goes a long way in this particular situation. We didn't have to be there. For those of us who want to be there, like myself, and visit frequently, and maybe eventually live there, whatever, it's going to take communication, and it's going to take communication. It's a multifaceted thing, and I have a plan, a personal mission that I'm going to do. Like, for example, in communicating, and I communicate with many from many countries in the motherland. And I've been invited to many places over there, to homes. I mean, it's a wonderful thing to set something like that up. But if we communicate and let people know what's going on here directly, which I've done that successfully, and they see what America is all about, compared to what they hear from others who are like-minded, as well as the propaganda. That's like the difference is night and day. But if I can show them what it's all about here, show them the value of what they have, and also get some of the people who came here bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and caught a beating in America to realize that it was a wrong move, and to let them say, listen, my brother, you don't need to come here. We need to build it. You know what I mean? And many think that Africans come here and they're uppity and look down on us. Look, let me tell you something. I did not get that when I went over there. And I will tell you that the reason why you may run into some born and raised Africans who come here to America is because they're sold on this American dream. And,
Oh,
they're told that we are inferior by those who run the system who don't look like us because they don't want us to connect with them
right.
via Memorandum
Exactly.
46. So anybody who
Mm-hmm.
basically says that, no, they come over here, and you will run into some a-hole Africans that come here. Not all, but some.
Mm-hmm.
It's only
Some, yeah.
because they're looking for the white girl, they're looking for the mansion, they're looking for the money, and they're looking for things that don't
Yeah.
exist for them. And this person over here who runs this system does not want us to get together. They want us apart, so they will say the most terrible things, you see, and tell us the most terrible things about them. Oh, you live in mud huts and you don't have running water and you're hungry over there, and that's what and so they say the stupidest things, and guess who wins? That
Mm-hmm.
slave driver, he wins.
Right.
You see what I
Right.
mean? So my
Right.
thing is to bring us together, but we have so many people who, oh, all white people are not bad. We need to hold hands and bring them and come together. Look, we've been with them for so many hundreds of years over here. Why don't we try somebody different, somebody that looks like us? You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, brother.
Mm-hmm. No, you're right. I've met some really, really good Africans. The ones I've met have been Ethiopian. I've met Ghana. I did my first African female that I was going to date. Um, very, very materialistic. I had to throw her away real quick. Very materialistic. And some of the in some African places, like maybe some Nigerians, not all Nigerians, but some Nigerians, very materialistic.
Mm-hmm.
Just like us over here. A lot of us over here, same way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not singling them out, but I'm just saying some, very, very materialistic, and they think that the way for a man to acquire a woman, first of all, you can't purchase her, and
Right.
secondly, you're not for sale. You're not for sale, so if you're for sale, then what is that? What are you saying to me? Uh, and if I
No,
can't, no, I think if I can't get you on my own merits, if I have to buy you, then I don't need you.
exactly.
I don't need you. But I know guys that'll throw money at women, and I'm like, you fool.
But I mean, if she fights for that, then
I'm
I
not
mean,
that type of guy.
exactly. But what I'm saying, in real love, real connectedness, real commitment, real across the board, money's not a problem, and whatever I have is yours. But it's not
Exactly.
based on, oh, I'm
It's
going to
not
do this for you.
based on that.
Right, right.
No.
Because then again, check it out. For the brothers who think that way, well, what happens when the next brother comes along and has a whole lot more money? If it's based on that, she's gone. You know what I mean?
Yep.
See, so
Yep.
it's a lot to think about.
Yeah. Um. I don't. I never. I was never attracted to those types of women, and I never had to go that way. I just always think would do. Just based on who I am. You know.
Exactly. But you're a
It's like
Renaissance man, brother, and you're not flat. You're not the kind of brother that a woman would meet and then okay, I got him figured out. There's so many
no.
levels to you, and that's what is needed because we have so many flat men who may I say it, and I don't say this like I'm better than anybody, but they're mediocre. They're not striving for anything. Look at the thirst and the hunger
Yeah.
that you have to learn and to read and expand. Let me tell you something. Let's just be real. Let's take a commercial break for a second.
Hmm.
For a man who focuses on just what is between a woman's legs, just the
Yeah.
carnal, and
Hmm.
focuses on that, a woman who has character and integrity, your knowledge, your integrity, your standing, your character would make most women who are available moist. Most men don't understand. Most of these mediocre carnal clowns don't understand that when they mess with these low vibration sisters, who may
Yeah.
one day go higher, but
Hmm.
there are so many of us who are no higher than a damn maggot in our vibration, and we can have the trappings of what they call success: the car, the house, the money, the job. But we're no
Yeah.
better than a maggot with our low vibrational selves. Is this everybody? No.
Yeah. That
But
is so true.
you can show up in a t-shirt with a ketchup stain on it, jeans
Mm,
with holes in it, and flip-flops. And if a quality woman that's vibrating high hears you open your mouth and you speak to them, you got you got them. And it's not like you got them to go to bed with them, but you have
right.
intrigued them because what you bring to the table is very, very uncommon across the board. Now let's just talk a concept and I'll shut up after this. You are a bodybuilder. I have been one in the past. Now back in
Uh,
1981, I don't know if you can remember, Franco Colombo came
Alright.
back and he won the Mr. Olympia. And there
the
were
little
many,
short guy.
yes,
Yeah.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's training partner who just passed away within the last year. Now,
He just
Frank,
passed away?
oh yeah, he passed away.
Oh, wow.
And
Wow.
that crushed Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Michael Colombo?
Yeah,
Man,
yeah, he's gone.
amazing physique.
Yeah, so,
Part
so
black.
he,
He's
he,
part black. He's Argentinian.
yeah, so he won the Mr. Olympia after 5 years being retired. He won it in '76, and it was pretty much like, okay, you're Arnold Schwarzenegger's buddy. We'll give it to you. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But it really didn't make sense when you looked at his physique. You said, wait a second,
Amazing.
it was amazing in '76, but when he came back in '81, he had some
Oh,
serious flaws. So bodybuilders had advanced by then. Hold with me on this point, because the point I'm making is something that has nothing to do with bodybuilding, right? So you had some guys there, and I won't drop names, who had better body parts here, better body parts there, and overall better shape, whatever. But why Franco Colombo won the overall is not because he looked better than any one of them, but he held his own in every category. He
Hmm.
basically got second place in each of the judging criteria's categories, which added up because the guy that beat him in one category might have got fourth in another category. So by the point system, it didn't add up. So with you, brother, with the very things that you can talk about, with the way you've taken good care of yourself, the way you think, the way you know to show respect, the decency oozes out of every syllable that you speak. Quality women know this. Gold diggers and low vibrational women would not even come by you because
Oh,
they
they
know.
scatter.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
and
scatter.
see, like I say, we gotta give credit where credit is due. When I see a quality system, not trying to rap to whatever have you, hey, listen, this is what it is. And earlier today, Mrs. Scurv and I went over to one of the markets down here, and I saw a woman who had 4 or 5 children walking behind her, well, to the side, not behind her, right? But to the side, and two of them, well, out of the four, there were two that were holding hands, and the one was holding her hand. And they were walking in unison, peaceful. You can tell they were already past us already. You can tell how orderly. That needs to be rewarded, not just with the money or something, but with a compliment. They're going so far. I told Mrs. Scurv, I said, I'd love to walk up to that lady and just compliment her on the order that I see. That says a lot about the home that she runs. Uh,
Yeah.
she wasn't overdone with the foolishness that many worldly women will spend money on. And if I was a
Wow.
guy who had a couple $1,000 in my pocket, 500 would have been in her hand just for that, just to reward
Mm.
her. See,
Wow.
instead of these guys who see women who put themselves up as a piece of meat and will
Hmm.
flash money on them when they
Right.
go to any higher bidder. I'm not saying all of our sisters, I'm only saying some. So we
Some.
gotta know what we're
Yeah.
dealing with. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I appreciate those kind words. I mean, I'm just a curious, intellectually curious person. I've always been that way, and my curiosity has taken me thus far where I am right now, and it's going to take me beyond where I
Exactly.
am because that's who I am, and that's all who I always will be. And I hate to have somebody try to suppress my creativity, and especially when they try to do it for a group, which is what we talked about earlier. That just bothers me. One size fits all monoculture.
When you lose everything. The curiosity. Because you see, there's always something on the next level. What I tell myself is like, okay, I'm on this level. What's the next level? Okay,
Mhm.
I may not concern myself with 5 levels away until I'm knocking on this door. But I'm
Mhm.
always concerned, like, okay, that you can never get bored.
No,
It stokes the
never,
fires of it
never,
keeps life so
never.
wonderful.
Mhm.
But when your world becomes just this one block or this one neighborhood and a couple buddies that you drink with, and there's no soil being turned over on a mental, spiritual, and physical level, you are therefore heading toward death. You are dead.
Mhm.
You're just breathing and going through the bodily functions, but there's nothing that you can sit there
Right.
and use your mind to take you
Mhm.
out of that place that you are of possible stagnation.
Yeah, that's really something. Oh, I'm actually, I'm downloading some of this stuff so I can send you some of these links
Yeah, not a problem.
while you were talking. But yeah, we have all types of people, and you have to have all types to make the world go round. I guess
Yeah.
everybody's not going to be the same, but nobody deserves tyranny. You know, nobody deserves that.
Yeah, it's we choose the level that we think we want to be on, and like I say, we're the sum total of our experiences. So sometimes
Mhm.
I'm not going to walk around and assess. I'm not going to say judge because judging is when you don't know, but assessing a
Mhm.
situation is when you see it clear in front of you and you have the right to assess it.
Right.
It's like me seeing a guy who's pissy drunk walking down the street, and I say, brother, man, you're intoxicated. Don't judge me. I'm
Mhm.
not judging you. I'm telling you, you came out the liquor store drinking liquor. What do you mean, don't judge you? If I got the tape measure of righteousness in my hand, and
Mhm.
I measure from where I stand to the wall, and I say it's 12 feet, that's not judging. It's judging when you don't have it. You see what I
Mhm.
mean? So many of us walk around and we make the set of our own rules in our life, and when they don't follow through good for us, we get mad at that world. But there are certain principles that never die, and we get away
Yep.
from it. We go into our own little world, and we make our
Mhm.
own little, our own little governments, and when it doesn't work out, we're pissed at everybody.
Right.
You know, there was a man
Yep.
named Jack many years
Mhm.
ago, from the late '60s to maybe the mid '70s. From single digit ages, I used to watch him. I would go over to a certain friend's house 3 blocks away. There was a liquor store in the corner, and Jack was a black man who, I heard he used to go to work and come home, take care of the family, but now he wasn't working, maybe because of the alcohol problem, but he was walking to the liquor store all day. Over
Mhm.
maybe a 10-year period, I watched Jack walk down the street normally, brisk, strong stride. Then after a while, he started staggering back and forth. Then after
Oh
another
wow.
year or two, he'd stagger and fall. You always saw
Mm.
Jack's lip busted. It was shiny and red, but he was still going to the
Mm.
liquor store.
Mm.
After a while, Jack would take almost, and this is like, I could say like one block, one city block, which could mean anything depending on what city you live in. But I would
Mhm.
say one average city block, it would take him 2 hours to get to the liquor store because he was so drunk he'd have to hold on to the tree, hold on to the car. So after a while, he got tired of busting his lip drunk that he just started crawling to the liquor store. On his all fours, crawling to the liquor store. He
Mhm.
didn't take care of himself. He was dirty, and his family made him sleep out in the garage, and he didn't care. He was getting his liquor. The clothes,
Mm.
could you imagine what the clothes look like?
He had
Crawling?
a family too.
Yeah. So
Wow.
at one point, he stopped coming home. He would sit
Mm.
there in his urine and his feces, and there was
Oh
some
wow.
enabling family member that would bring him like a paper plate of food, or somebody
Mm.
would give him. He'd sit by the liquor
What?
store, and he may end up getting carried home and put in the back of the pickup truck once a week. But rain or snow,
Wow.
in the snow, he would sit out there with gloves bundled up near the liquor store and go to sleep right there when it would close.
Are
Right?
you serious?
Yes, and he would wake up, and they wouldn't even have him come in. He would have to crawl in. They would ask him what he wants, and he'd get his money because he paid. He got a check, so he made sure to get that whenever he got home or whatever. And then they would give him what he wanted. Last time I saw Jack, he was up on Liberty Avenue on 131st Street, Richmond Hill, Queens, right by that same liquor store. And I walked by him, and he woke up drunk. He didn't have to drink to be drunk. He was so much of a wino, he was just always intoxicated now. So as I was
Wow.
walking up toward him, I wasn't walking up to him to say something to him because he was oblivious in his own world. Guess what? I got near
What?
Jack. This brother whipped out his penis. He wasn't trying to make some kind of homo move on me. He didn't care. He whipped out his penis. I'm not looking. It shocked me. So I looked for a second, like, what is he doing? He started urinating. I didn't see urine, brother. I saw nothing but straight blood.
What?
And it was about another few days. I said, hey,
Wow.
man, Jack was out there, laid out. Because lots of times he'd lay out. And when they came to bring him his liquor now, because it was every day, there was a definite sale. He was out, dead, in a pool of blood.
Are you serious?
Didn't wash for about a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Mm.
Oily and dirty and gritty.
Mm.
Doodle on himself, urinate, but really blood. And you see, these are the things that I see that I learned from very young. And I watched this man go down like that. For what? What was bugging him? What could have been corrected in his psyche? What drove him to do this? What pain was he feeling? What were the circumstances? And where was the crossroad that he could have chose a different road?
Right. Wow. I had a cousin that killed himself from alcohol. And I decided a long time ago that I wasn't going to go that route. I had some other cousins that were older than me. And I saw these pills that they would have in their hands. Because one of them was, he was a pimp. He was running prostitutes. And talk about somebody that's strong. Man, this guy would bench press 600 pounds, man. Pick up cars and everything. This guy was built like a tank. And he was a good brother, too, but like from a moral standpoint, he was a very good person. But when they were younger, they got turned out by some older guy on some drugs. He turned them out with some drugs, and they were never the same. And he just ruined his life. Wow. And he basically got on cocaine and heroin. And dead, man.
I know a lot of situations.
Crack actually did it.
Yeah.
Crack cocaine.
Yeah.
My other cousin, same thing. She died from this. His sister. She wanted to go with him. She beautiful. I mean, she was so fine, and I wanted to marry her when I was a little boy. Man.
Every neighborhood has one of those.
Women in my family. Anyway, I didn't care if she was my cousin. I'm like, but man, she got on those drugs, man. Whew.
But it tears those the most, it seems like. It just goes for, especially when it looks so good, and it's like it just takes that away. But I tell people that people say, well, that person doesn't look like a crackhead. Oh, it depends on the circumstance because a lot of these people who are addicted to drugs and especially crack, they may come from a home that enables them, that takes care of them, where the clothes are clean, there's always a refrigerator full of food and something on the stove. They leave their clothes to get washed and different things, and they don't look like that because they don't have to make that choice where,
right,
am I going to eat or am I going to do crack? You know what I mean? And they're healthy looking and strong. And I've seen a lot of people who ride the bus, man, walk right to the crack dealer and shake his hand on the way home. People who are functional crack addicts. So there are different levels of it. Now that person doesn't have backup or a home, or they get tossed out, and that's a wrap. They're gonna look like Pookie from New Jack City.
Wow, man. Yeah, I'm just glad I never went that route. I've never been interested in drugs. Never.
Never ever.
Maybe my cousins were an example for me because they were young and they were good looking, and it didn't affect them then. But they kept doing it, and eventually took both of them out. Just killed them both. And both of them were beautiful people on the inside. Beautiful. And the thing that I hated most about that was that I never really got to know them or to hang out with them or spend time with them.
Right. Well, one of my pet peeves is my older brother, 11 years older than me. He's always been on some type of substance. And I just don't understand it. And like I said before, college educated, intelligent, even without the education, can debate he can debate himself and win both times. He was so brilliant. Charismatic,
Wow.
charismatic, can speak.
Mhm.
I'm telling
Mhm.
you, if he had a podcast or a YouTube channel, he would absolutely blow me away. It wouldn't be
Wow.
it wouldn't. I'm not a competitive person toward anybody that way. I do my own thing, but
You in
he's
your
so
lane and his.
he's so compelling. He's so
Mhm.
and he can sit down in a corporate boardroom of condescending white men and have them bedazzled, and he could go out there in the street corner with any guys out there who's hustling and talk the
Mhm.
talk.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. Put it this way. I'm gonna tell another quick one. He was so deep into the crack and the drugs that
Mhm.
he would slick out guys who are out there hustling, right?
Wow.
And the guys in my neighborhood, there was a time when my mother passed away, and I took possession of the home, and that was in the old neighborhood that we grew up in. And my brother was allowed to stay there for a little while till I threw him out because he was bringing people in there. That's another story, another crazy story that I have to tell.
Yeah. Mhm.
And I'm living there, and people are coming by that knew my mother, and there's some people who came by that knew my brother, and they were into different things. And they quickly knew not to come back. Well,
Mm.
there was a guy who came there, and my brother was still living not too far on somebody's couch or some chick's, bedroom because he specialized in that because he would get to these chicks who were in the so-called hood and because he was so intelligent and slick with the words, he'd palm
Mhm.
his way into their lives. So one
Wow.
day the doorbell rung. I was there by myself, and I went to the front door, and there was a guy with a hoodie on. It was dark, with the lights on. I never moved in fear, but I got a feeling about this one. And so I opened the door, and I said, "What's up, my man?" Just like that, I didn't know who. I mean, it could have been somebody that I knew from school years ago. And he pulled the hoodie back, and I evidently didn't know him. I looked
Mhm.
down because you had to walk up two flights of, not flights, but three steps, and then a level and another four steps to get up to the door. It was on a grade. And
Mhm.
so there were two or three guys down by the sidewalk that they didn't look too friendly. And I didn't see all of their hands. It was like, and this
Mhm.
guy, I didn't see his hands. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Well,
Mhm.
he asked my brother, and I'll save his dignity and not put his name out there, but he asked my brother, who one of his street names was Divine. He said, "Is Divine here?"
Mhm.
I said, "No, Divine's not here." He says, "Listen, I'm going to be very upfront with you. Divine owes me a lot of money." I said,
Mhm.
"Really?" I said, "What
Wow.
for?" He says, "Well, you must know. He lives here with you." I said, "No, he doesn't. He doesn't live here with me." Well, then the gun comes out and
Wow.
tells me, and the other guys are down there, and I know they were packing too.
Mhm.
And so, what was I going to turn around and run? That would have been it.
Good shot.
So I said, "Listen, I'm telling you, he doesn't live here. You say," and I had to save face now because he's a guy who put me in a bad position many times. I said, "Listen, you're telling me he owes you money. I don't doubt that at all because he owes a lot of people money by the way he carries on."
Mhm.
So he says, "Well, sorry, brother, I don't know you, but you're going to have to settle that score. You're going to have to settle this loan. You're going to have to
What?
settle this money."
Hmm.
I said, "I'm a grown ass man. I'm a lot younger than him, but I'm a grown ass man. And I ain't paying for nothing that he does, but you leave me no choice to convince you that he does not live here. And I do sense a little bit of humanity in you, brother." I said, "Listen, maybe I'm not supposed to do this according to the book of the hood, which that was not a hood at first. It was turned into a semi-temporary hood. But I'm going to show you that there's nothing of him in here. If I turn around and run, you're going to kill me. So I'm going to take another shot. Come in, man. I'm not going to grab nothing. Come on in." Put the lights on, walked around the joint. I said, "Do you see anywhere he sleeps in here? Do you see anything that might be his? There's nothing of his in here. And guess what? This is what I'm telling you. If he can put his younger brother in this situation and he really owes you that money, I'm not mad at you if you have to do what you have to do. But on a righteous level, if you have any bone in you of righteousness, You know that I had nothing to do with him. And I'm asking you, just leave me alone, brother. I showed you that he doesn't live here. I'm still grieving over my mother passing away. I said, I don't need this. I don't live like that. He used to live here, but he doesn't live here anymore. And if you do what you do, I ain't telling nobody nothing. And that's my brother. If he don't care about me and he's done things about me and my mother in manipulation that has put us in bad situations before. So you make up your mind what you got to do. Because, like I said, I showed it to you. He said, man, I feel bad. I'm not going to come here no more. And in actuality, I'm going to let it go because of the way you handled it. But if I see him, I'm going to beat him an inch away from death. I said, hey, he earned it. He's a grown man and he did you wrong. I may not I may not condone the way you earn your money, brother, but you don't do that to people. You full know the rules. I'm not mad at you. I squash it right here. And he reached up to shake my hand. I shook his hand, and the brother turned around and hugged me. I'm like, God, dog, you guys gonna kill me a second ago. Now he's hugging me. I was I called up my girlfriend at the time. I was like, yo, I'm a slick talker. I talk my way a little. Man, let me tell you something. And those guys, when they got to the front, we called them up. He said, my man, he is good, man. No matter what, respect him and stay away from him. Because, like I said, even the neighborhood guys that were selling, they came to me and told me, they say, out of respect to your mother, man, we ain't gonna sell nothing. We ain't gonna sell that shit to your brother. He gotta go cross over the bridge, which where we lived, the bridge was the Van Wyck Expressway on the other side of Liberty Avenue. He said they got to go and get it over there. We ain't trying to get rich, you know. I mean, yeah, I've been through a lot, man.
You got to do this with a heart.
Yeah. Oh, you made him have a heart. You know what I mean? Because see, I guess the way I looked, like he might have thought, like he might have thought.
Besides, he knew that you were telling him the truth. He knew.
Yeah,
he can read.
I brought him inside the house. I opened up the closets. I said, these are my clothes. There's nothing in here.
You did that.
I said, I had to.
I had to. Notice on the exact same thing.
I had
That's
to.
what I would. Mm-hmm.
I had to. I said, how much toothbrushes you see in here? You see two. I said, my girlfriend comes here every now and then, and it's just me. Look at the closets. Look at this. And I was amped. Because, I was caught off guard. What am I going to do? Stand in the door like Superman? Turn around and I'm going to go and get my gun and shoot you. You know what I mean? Look, be real, y'all.
Yeah.
Be real. They know who to. He could have. They could have held me at gunpoint.
I don't hear the boy. You don't hear the doorbell.
They could have.
They could have.
Now, some of them would have.
Exactly, but I had no other option. I had to go that way. Exactly. I would have. But you know what?
I'll meet you down.
If they want to go against that, right? I'm showing them inside, and I'm talking to them as a man. I was shaking. Yes, I was. I'm not Superman. They couldn't tell, but I was being sincere, and I was. They can tell I was a little shaken, but I was more shaken than they can indicate. Now, if they came in and tried something, now I'm going to have to get their gun out your hand and knock you out or shoot you or do. Because now I'm inside. I did not want to go that way because it would have went that way if I initially tried to get one of them. They had three more out there.
Right. You use that feminine energy.
Exactly. Okay, you got this. But since you got this, let me explain. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And weeks later, I saw two of the other guys that were outside. Like, yo, man, much love, man. So and so and so and so. We took care of that.
Wow.
I'm like, hey, you had to do what you had to do. I'm with you on that, man.
Yeah. Wow.
Because, like I said, people don't know what people go through. I'm going to say another one real quick. We talked about one thing, and now we're going up into other stuff, but I think everybody's enjoying it. My father passed away in 1990. My mother passed away in 1994. My brother was allowed to stay there for a time. There was a first floor, second floor, and attic. The attic was where he stayed. And, I was in and out here and there. not living some crazy life. I was living crazy on a level, but there was a time that I wasn't living there exclusively. But you have access, and my mother had her first stroke in '93, and then she had the second stroke, which left her brain dead in April
Oh,
'94.
really?
Yeah,
Oh man.
so I had to deal with all of this.
Mm.
So
That's a lot.
I found out through the corner pharmaceutical advisors and salesmen. It's like, listen, they told me from then, we're not selling nothing to your brother no more, man. You know he's on that shit off and on, but he's always on. And he's going somewhere else and getting it. And he's doing some stuff to get money. Because he had a few little crackhead chicks that were really down and out that he had on the street on a low level. I'm not talking about he's some big pimp. He was just a low level guy who could manipulate low vibration people who he would use them. And he'd brag about it. I got chicks on the street, man. I'm like, them
That's a little
little them,
bragger.
them little ugly looking drive up something. I'm not speaking like I'm in that world, but don't come to me talking about I got chicks in the street, man. I get I'm a, see he used to like talk big, right?
All
But he was
with
on a
all the
shoe
all
yeah, on a shoestring budget. You old crackhead, what you talking about? You got chicks in the street. And I'm not glorifying that at all, right? But it's not like you have some beauties who speak several languages and whatever. No, man. You got the look. The chicks he had out there, if they came in your house and stood up for 5 seconds, the whole house would stink.
you know my kids.
For real. The whole house would stink. And I'm wondering who was laying down with these chicks. Oh, nasty.
Somebody.
Yeah, yeah,
Trust
yeah.
me.
Little,
Trust me.
I'm talking about straight up skanks.
Trust me.
Lit in
I
the
saw a
hair.
boy drive the car one time. I'm like, man, he just what?
So,
Cab driver.
yeah, so the brothers on the corner who I know real well, they were like, you need to go to your mother's house, man. It's like that little frog thing in the memes. You ain't hear it here with a cup of tea, but it was like, you need to go and check out what's going on in your house, man. I said, all right. So I went there and I knew they said dress accordingly. So I went there and I had little Timberlands on, had some black sweatpants doubled up on. I had a hood on. I had gloves cut out, covering the knuckles. I pushed the key in. And mind you, this is not a bad neighborhood, but these things were there. It was becoming that way, right? So I pushed the key in on the first floor. Nobody was on the first floor. Living room and all, kitchen down there. It was a two-family house, right? But she stayed up on the second floor. Same thing up there, kitchen, everything like that. And you know, she kind of like withdrew. Mind you, she had a beautiful voice, graduated from Juilliard School of Music, opera, taught in colleges, LaGuardia College, and what's the other one there? The one here, York College. And so she was so social and knew people, and she just went into a shell. Then we had a shame and just whatever. So, you know, I check on her and everything was always cool. But I knew what she was going through. But then he's there, and he's not just minding his business. We didn't mind if he had a girlfriend come over or something like that, even though I know he was in and out of that smoking. But when I went there, and I went there on a sneaky tip, right? Because I'm sitting there by the front window, not by the window where you can see me in the dark. Now these are Queens houses, right? You can come to the front door and walk up the steps to the second floor. You didn't have to come into the whole area. And they had like a little hallway, and I sat there in that front of the room, and I heard keys drop from the attic where he was. And I looked outside and I said, what is a Korean man picking up the keys and pushing in the door and walking upstairs? Past the
Wow.
second floor where my mother was and closed in the room. She kept the door closed. She'd come out to the
Wow.
bathroom, go to the kitchen, but after a certain time, she never came out. So I said, let me check this out. And I see two black chicks with jacked up afros, all skinny, who I knew were straight up dedicated, committed crackheads. You heard the keys. And when they picked it up, when everybody came to the door, straight tippy toeing, man. I know those steps so good. I know where the squeaks are. They walked up like they floated up the steps and never had to walk. I'm like, this is a regular thing. Two black chicks and a Korean man. This is getting good.
Wow. Yeah.
Right?
Right.
White man coming, black guys coming, three more crackheads coming. There had to be 25 people up in that attic. Was the floor gonna fall through? They didn't heard no noise. I had it. I had it with what I saw. I knew what was going on. I'm gonna tell you too. All of a sudden, I heard the keys again, and it was a white man now. He pushed the key in. I got up because I'm on the first floor, and he looked at me, and I told him, "Give me them keys. Don't say anything. Turn around and never come back to this place because I'm gonna f you up if you make any noise. I'm going to f you up good." And the way out, I was very convincing, and I was real strong back in them days. Even though it was a couple years since I've been in the gym, I was real strong, and I get strong when I'm angry. So I tiptoed up the steps, and I tapped on my mother's door in the room on the second floor, and she came to the door, opened it up, and she had tears in her eyes. And I said, "It's okay. This is not going to happen no more." So she knew what was going on. And if anybody can't figure it out, he had the space up there. He had the crackheads come up there, the females, giving blowjobs, having sex, and they had to give him some of the money or some crack for this to take place. So he was tricking off everything up there, the space, right over my mother's head. I was so angry, I was shaking like I had Parkinson's. I walked up the second flight of steps. Up to the attic was open. There was no second door up there. It was just an open space. And I peeked over and I saw complete darkness. My eyes adjusted because I'm sneaky. I can be real sneaky. Peeked over, still had the hood on, peeked, and saw the fire, the light in the crack pipe. When they sucked in, it got lighter. I saw the Korean guy getting a blowjob, laying back up against the wall, feeling up on the next crackhead's funky ass. There was another white man over there getting a blowjob. There was the two black guys were screwing some of the other ones all out in the open in front of each other, and while a lot of them were smoking crack.
And you getting a contact if you in that environment.
Well, I must have got a contact because I got crazy up in there. So I flicked.
No, I mean the people that were in there, they didn't care that
Oh,
they
they
were
didn't care.
getting.
No, they didn't care. They didn't care. They didn't care. I flicked on the light and I clapped my hands twice. I said, "Okay, motherfuckers, the party's over, and you gotta get past me." Man, I don't care if you was a woman or a man. You in my house over my mother doing this stuff. This has been going on. You're gonna catch it. But every other time they ran, they were scared. There was one way out. It was too high to jump out the window. They had to get by me. Some fell down the steps after I punched them. Some just threw themselves down the steps to avoid getting punched.
See, you're wrong, man. You use your mother. Wrong, man. You use your mother. You, man, come on.
So,
I've done the same thing.
yo, I'm telling
I've
you,
done the same
my
thing.
fists were bloody. I missed and hit the wall one time. They were screaming. Some were moving like spooks. One, the Korean dude, I don't know how he got past me. I saw him running. I threw a punch. He was halfway down the steps running, stepping over somebody on their face, getting under there.
Wow.
Then my brother comes out, cussing me. Well, my pinky, I'm going to show it next time on a live show. It's broken at the first crease by the nail. It's bent. I never fixed it because I want to leave it that way to remind me what I went through. I can re-break it and fix it again. I left it like that. Plus, to be honest, it's good to reach those hard to pick boogers. No, I'm just playing.
Man, you crazy.
So they were all out in the street screaming now, cussing some of the crackheads because their little hustle spot was done. And it wasn't too long after that, we got him out. But emotionally, like my mother loved him so much and enabled him for so many years, and that's what happened. So this is why I can't help but be brutally honest. I have to say that I had a wonderful childhood. He was the only one who was a thorn in my side because I could never get a real relationship with him because half the time it wasn't heroin, it was crack. And that's not the kind of house I came out of. I mean, I didn't You
never
see,
even get to know him.
right, but technically, he's my half brother, right? Because we had different fathers. But his father was a city slicker who saw my mother as a pretty young thing and took advantage of her. But
Oh,
he never took to my father. You ain't,
wow.
you know, and he's 11 years older than me. So growing up in Washington Heights for him and in Manhattan, right above Harlem, he took to those things. But he was very brilliant, and he really actually the times that he wasn't as bad on the drugs, he taught me so much and gave me tremendous insight on so much. So it was but drugs. This is why, like for me personally, I
Mm-hmm.
never use drugs. I don't want drugs. I don't even want to take cough syrup or aspirin.
Me neither.
Right. So
Me
so
neither.
so for me, this is why, and I'll reveal only but so much. I'm not gonna. I'll talk like this on my little Patreon shows, right? But
Oh, you good?
I,
You good?
I hated drugs so much and stayed away from them. But women became my drug. You know
Yeah,
what
that
I
was
mean?
my truth.
So
Yeah,
so
me too.
so it was like it was no different. It still could have killed me.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
the other psychological things I learned about myself and other people, and this is why people say, "Well, you know so much about human nature," because I know so much about myself meditating. And,
Right.
and this is why when I
Right.
talk to people, I know where they're coming from because I've experienced certain things hands on. Let me tell you something, and I'll end this part like this. If you have a guy who took all the certifications and all the classes and all the psychology classes to learn what makes a person use drugs and the approach to bring them back and heal them back and bring them back to their full form, and you're the best of what you do, you have a wall full of certificates. It means nothing if you can compare to that guy who used to shoot drugs with some of the same guys out in the street, and they know him for being the biggest fiends out there, and he cleaned himself up. Out of those two
Mm-hmm.
guys, who do you think is more effective? Not the certificate guy, but the hands-on guy. So in
Hands
life
on.
with me, I've experienced so much. I got hands-on experience that universities will never acknowledge. But
Mm-hmm.
when
Me
it
too.
comes time to hands-on and knowing life, trust me, there's not much that I can't deal with and talk about and reach a person on. You know?
Yeah, you got a lot of experiences, and you have those types of experiences. You can, of course, be a better person, and if you learn from your mistakes. Some people are old fools and they never learn. You know, so if you, as long as you can learn from your mistakes, because we're all here to learn. All of
Mm-hmm.
us are here.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us don't take that seriously. Some of
Mm-hmm.
us think it's a party. You can do that if you want, but it's your life. But obviously, if that was the only reason we were here, then life would have no purpose.
So this is why, as one who, I mean, I had my kids, but they
Hmm.
never knew anything like this. They never grew up like that, and they're of age now. They're grown. But
Okay.
I can't help but shake the thought that I'm a soul survivor. I
Mm.
can't shake this thing that I'm all by myself. I know I'm not, but I know for anything to go on beyond me, I have got to protect and preserve myself
Hmm.
and do all I can to spread good
Right.
and affect people, even if it's not through my physical bloodline. But I
Hmm.
know that I have to justify everything that I've been through by sharing on different levels.
Right.
So this is why my hobby here online is a very serious thing to me. I don't know what
Hmm.
other people do it for. I don't know what they need or what they're looking for, but I know I have a lot to give. And that's my life mission. I'm not trying to be anybody's pastor. I'm not trying to be anybody's
Oh, really?
like a exactly right. Oh, I can get into that. You know what I mean? I can get
I
into
saw
that.
you messed with the church the other night. I saw that post. I didn't see the thing, but I saw. I'm like, there you go messing with the church.
Yeah,
Messing with that church.
the church don't like me too much because I got a lot of hands-on experiences from
Oh,
them.
they go like me. I'm not done with him yet.
Oh,
I'm
what?
not done with his mom.
Oh hell,
I
you know
haven't done his mom.
I might get. I'm gonna do a show tomorrow morning whenever I wake. I'm gonna wake up. It might be 10, 11 o'clock when I do the show. I didn't go out in the backyard today and the sun blew because when my sister, the Oracle came on, we had to do the phone. The phone really got hot. They probably
Hmm.
cut off the conversation, so I stayed inside. So I
Oh,
didn't show myself, but I'm going back out there in the morning time, and I think I'm gonna put that conversation behind in a different way. Yeah, in a very comical way too. I'm in the mood. I'm in that kind of mood to talk that stuff. I'm, I'm,
Well,
I'm gonna take you on some trips. If you're not
we
there
gonna
live, you will hear the replay. Trust me.
we gonna tag team. We gonna. I'm talking about all the Abrahamic religions.
Exactly.
Garbage.
Exactly.
Where they came from.
I'm gonna
How
tell.
they got.
I'm gonna tell you. Yeah. Oh, see, we need to do right. You need to do it from that end, and I'm gonna do it from my end. But I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna include Islam. It's gonna include Judaism. It's gonna include
Yes.
Christian more so than anything else. You know, these Jack Lake. You see, because when I was in my drug
Jack Lake
time,
Streets.
yeah. See, my drugs were women, right? So when I was in that, they looked at me as the pusher, like, oh, if you get cool with him, you can get this and you can get that. So I had pastors approach me. Plus, remember, I was into bodybuilding, right? There was a gym on
Right.
131st, Liberty Avenue. I'm giving the facts now, Richmond Hill, Queens. And that's when I was 17, 18 years old, training there. And the block over, we had another church, and I'll break down the brother's name who was the pastor tomorrow. I'm going to say it right now, right? And he would always come down and, hey, brother, how you doing? Praise the Lord, man. And see, he had a supermarket, man, a converted supermarket. I think it was an A and P. Anybody from New York City who remembers A and P back in the day?
Really?
Yeah. So he had the first floor set up like a whole. I mean, it was huge. It looked like a Walmart to me, but it wasn't as big as a Walmart, but it might have been like one quarter the size. So he had all of the space, and the basement was just as huge. So his pitch was, hey brother, because he was a straight up pimp, gold teeth, gold chain,
Oh,
straight curls. You know what I
oh
mean?
yeah.
He was a southern boy in New York City, so he has to come with extra flair because guys like that, they're a little intimidated, so they want to have extra flair to outdo the
Yes.
So he, hey,
Yes.
brother, you need to come on over, man, and I'll give you the basement. And I'll make sure we got some equipment in there, man, because there's a lot of ladies out here, man. They need to get in shape. You know what I mean? And you know all the stuff. You got the body, and you can, I'll pay you, brother, to go out there and
He wants
put
to
these.
use you to turn this place into a whorehouse.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
He sees how I'd work out so hard and almost blow out my back working out, but he wanted to get the women in there to blow out their backs.
I had the same thing. Same problem.
His voice sounded just like that dude who sung that song. She got papers on me. Remember that song? And he, well. He sounded just like that.
And you sounded just like that. I'm like, that's exactly how I envisioned it.
Yo, let me tell you. This guy, why he trusted me to approach me that way. I ain't gonna spill all of it. I'll spill tomorrow morning, right? But
Mm-hmm.
he a girl I was dating when I was like 17, 18 years old, up until 19, a little bit. And it wasn't exclusive. It was, on dating me, but I'm going to cross town later on, so I wasn't no saint either. I was well advanced with my years. Other dudes in the neighborhood playing basketball, dude. I'm sleeping in other bedrooms, you know. I'm not bragging about that. I'm not proud of that. I'm just saying the state of mind. I was young. This is New York, and I had a body. You know what I mean? Come on. So,
Yeah.
and they were coming at me, So, anyway,
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I was over there with her in the front porch. You say front porch, but it's not open. It's closed in. And here's somebody come tapping on the window, 3 in the morning. I was mad because I'm trying to do what I got to do 3 in the morning before I dipped out of there.
So somebody else.
No, it wasn't somebody else coming to see my girlfriend. It was the pastor coming to see our sister.
What?
So they kind of busted her. Now she knew, and she kind of hinted at it, but I couldn't believe it when I saw it. Homeboy parked his car around the corner, and we walked over there. Now listen, check this out. The father, he hated the pastor because he knew something was going on. He's like, if I catch him in my house, I'm gonna kill him. But the pastor, he was smiling, gold teeth and all. Hey, brother, how you doing, man? We all men, and God loves us. I mean, I'm not gonna say I loved it, but I love how these guys try to talk their way out of shit.
You saw right through him though.
Yeah, he knew. But we all have things we struggling through, and in the struggle, things could be much worse. I take care of my family, and he gave me the whole thing right there. I said, listen, man. I said, I'm trying to slip out of here soon, man, but I understand you, brother. I got you. said, listen, and he slipped me $20, which was like $1 million back then in 1982 and 81, right? So he slipped me $20. Yeah. He said, I'm only gonna be here about an hour and 30 minutes. If you could just take a walk around the corner and just check on my caddy, I'd appreciate it, brother. I told him, I said, praise the Lord, man, go and do your thing.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing, man.
So it was funny and ironic that he was upstairs, and the mother and the father, they had their bedroom on the first floor. She had lupus. He was a wino. He couldn't do nothing if he found out. But to hear that bed squeak and rock and whatever, he's the pastor. Got to go preaching the next morning. That morning, it's funny because I'm like, in a few hours, that mother is going to be in the same church. She might try to bring the wino father, but he ain't gonna go. But all the kids, they gotta go, and the pastor is gonna be up there preaching. His wife next to him and his kids, and all of them there, and the girl, my girlfriend's sister, who is here. Come to find out, back in 1980, same situation. It was the one sister and three other girls who always hung out with each other. And there was a place called the Scene on Foch. What was it? Foch and Guy Brewer? Yeah, Foch and Guy, below Foch on Guy Brewer, right by the Rochdale Village apartments. But it was a house that was transformed into a club. You can still see that it was a house, but they added on certain parts, right? And they called it the Scene. And they would always want to go in there like Friday night, Saturday night, go dancing, hanging out. So in 1980, I wasn't driving. You really had in the city living. You're not looking at a car right away, you know. So they took a cab, and I came with myself. I come with y'all. So me and my girlfriend, her sister, and the three other chicks, they in the car, and they all talking about their boyfriends. And one name was Michelle, another one was named Sharon, another one was named I don't know, but Marie. Yeah, yeah, I remember that. They were all cute. They're a little older than me, so they didn't look at me that way. Plus, they were dealing with older men, I thought, right? So one was like, oh, yeah, yeah. They referred to it this way. He bought me a diamond ring. See this ring right here? He bought that for me. The other one said, girl, he's gonna take me on 2 or 3 cruises this year. Hands down. We already got the ticket for the next one, and I know the way I put it on him. He's gonna get it for me. And the other one was like, oh really? Oh, okay. Well, he's paying my bills. He can come over anytime he wants, but he's paying my bills. And so I'm like, I said to my girlfriend, my old girlfriend, I said, wait a second, who are they talking about? Because they're not mentioning no names. I know they might want to be, undercover with it, whatever have you. And later on, after we got up the cab, because it wasn't that long of a cab drive, she was like, we talking about the same guy. I said, what? Do they know they talking about the same guy? They said, yeah. I said, yeah. Wow. What is this dude doing to them? They said, you know him. I said, who is it? It's the pastor. I was like, oh. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable. Those guys, man. That's why I have no mercy on the ones that are ignorant. That's one thing, but the ones that know, some of them are just ignorant. They don't know any better. But some of them, like that, snakes like that, I had no mercy on them. No mercy. No mercy. So you like that? I had a dog when I was a child. He was a German Shepherd, and when he get a hold to say a squirrel or a cat, he would just shake it until he just couldn't shake no more. Wow. And that's what you like. You like that. You like that dog. They grab the whole That's what he would do.
I got some
like,
people
that's what I thought about.
There's things that happen to me that have me righteously messed up in the head. Like not nothing bad where I'm like crazy or nothing like that, but I'll tell that story another time. When I got broke into my room and I almost broke his ribs when he did. The next night, mistaken identity, I was chased by a car. And the guy had a gun. There was a girl sitting between them, and they said, "Is that him?" And she shook her head and said, "Yeah." And I got out and they jumped down the subway over the tracks and got to the precinct at 3 in the morning. The next night, this is why it's hard for me to sleep at night. Not that I'm scared, but things happen at night. You know what I mean? I'm that dude
Yeah.
that makes sure all the doors are locked and I'm up, and every noise I investigate it. I'm gonna tell that
Yeah.
story, but a lot that I've been through, but I've always come out on top. But I've had a lot of close calls, and I learned from them. So
Mm.
rapid fire for
Wow.
me. I never went out for a fast life, but a lot of things happened that I learned from, and really and truly, if I wasn't protected by the Creator and had a mission in this life, I wouldn't be here. And by
Mm.
all natural way of thinking, by most people, I should be here. Like, yo, man, you've been through a lot on
Wow.
all kind of levels, you know.
Man, I've been through some stuff too. Um, different things, but we have similar paths in life. That's for sure. You know. Um, oh, there's one other thing I wanted to say. I talked about colloidal silver, right? I found what I was looking for about colloidal silver. This
Mhm.
thing, this review about how it.
As you share that, let me run to the restroom real quick. Okay?
Okay, I'm
Okay.
just gonna read this real quick.
Okay, do you think? Do you think? You got that.
I sent the link for all the. I just sent you a link. I sent the link for all those things we talked about earlier. But this deals with colloidal silver. It says colloidal silver was erased from textbooks because it cured diseases from tuberculosis to syphilis. 2,300 years ago, Alexander the Great was surveying his battlefield and drinking water from silver urns. He knew nothing about bacteria, but he knew that silver containers have a seemingly miraculous way of keeping water fresh. Silver has been used for thousands of years in different forms for its health benefits. Throughout the Middle Ages, the wealthy gave their children silver spoons to suck upon to stave off illnesses. People have been known or have known about the benefits of silver for so long that it is incorporated into legends, like killing vampires, werewolves, things like that. The new history of silver is a falsified history. Silver was once used extensively by all healthcare practitioners as an antibiotic and antiviral. Nothing worked better then, and nothing does now. The FDA began its crusade against silver products in the 1930s because silver, as a natural substance, cannot be patented. But the organization's antibiotic and vaccine industry partners were able to patent their wares. Under the FDA, the original name, the Bureau of Chemistry, its real mission was to legally protect the chemical industry by declaring toxic chemicals to be generally recognized as safe and to eliminate the chemical industry's competition through regulations. Let's see what else it says here. This history has likewise been obscured greatly in most medical or most modern historical texts, but the truth can be found in materials from its early period. Silver medicine has been erased from the textbooks, and it is seldom given mention in medical literature. The official pharmacia, which is the physician's desk reference book, listed dozens of medicinal silver compounds prior to the mid-1930s, but thereafter all mention of silver disappeared. Newer books report that it never really happened, but the history was rewritten. Silver was like the nuclear weapon of medicine. No human pathogen of any kind survived. This was the gospel of medicine. Pure colloidal silver is still the most comprehensive and potent antibiotic and antiviral known that is actually safe for human consumption, and it is absolutely safe for everyone in every condition. It is natural, has no side effects, and it was killing the worst viral diseases in the 1930s long before it became impossible to kill viruses with medicine. Over the past 2 centuries, silver has been used by both allopathic and alternative medicine. In addition to being used for routine ailments, silver has been used effectively against some of the most notoriously hard-to-kill illnesses, including tuberculosis and syphilis. It has been used as an antibacterial agent that was added to bandages and disinfectant sprays. It has been embedded into clothing to prevent bacteria from producing foul odors from sweat. Attempts are still being made to lace hospital countertops with silver to prevent the growth of bacteria. Silver-lined containers are actively being used to disinfect water in third world countries. Silver is remarkable because it is an extremely powerful natural antibacterial and antiviral agent, yet it does not impair overall health like antibiotics do. It kills viruses, bacteria, and parasites in cases wherein the parasites live in a symbiotic relationship with the bacterial agent. And Colloidal silver is manufactured by electrically combining silver with pure water. You can easily make one of those devices at your house, easily. While silver is now labeled as an alternative medicine, it was once widely used in hospitals as the premier antiseptic and antibiotic. It is still used in hospital burn centers for its incredible ability to heal burns more rapidly than steroids. We are astounded when witnessing it eliminate a sunburn in the span of just an hour and a burnt tongue within minutes. Removing silver from the market was one of the first actions of the Food and Drug Administration when it changed its name in the 1930s. It gradually changed its name from the Bureau of Chemistry to the more publicly palatable Food and Drug Administration. They basically rebranded themselves. So after 1999, after the reemergence of silver, the FDA completely banned it in any form from being sold in over-the-counter health products, despite the fact that silver has been safely used as a medicine for millennia. Man, this is just a trip. And it goes on and on. I sent you guys plans on how to make your own, if you want to do that. But it goes on. It's just, it's a lot.
Wow.
But that's what I want to tell you guys today. And that's how all the stuff I said earlier relates to the topic. Which was, what was the topic? Survival mode.
Let me tell you, brother. It's me who makes you stay longer, right? Because I start talking and it goes longer. You say, like, you got to be on for 90 minutes or 2 hours tops. And I start running my mouth and I feel good again. But it's an addendum. It's extra. It's like bonus beats on the rap songs and beats in the early 80s. You know, you had the other side that had no words on it, but it's just beats. So it's just extra.
Right.
I never want to stress you out and stretch you long. You know I'm long-winded and everything like that. But you know, as long as you want to rock, we can rock, man. As long as everybody's enjoying everything, we're gonna rock and enjoy ourselves. You know?
I'm pretty much done. I have to run, but when I do my normal talks, I usually like to keep those not too long.
Yeah.
But tonight I kind of wanted to rant. Tonight was kind of a rant.
That's
and then,
cool with you, brother. I love it. You know. And anyway, even when you don't have a topic and you just want to rant on something, call me up. I'll set it up, hit the button, we'll go live, we'll bring our family on in. We're going to have a good old soul searching good time. And I have no problem sharing, adding on the vast amount of things that I've been through. And like, again, you like Brother Quaker, like the brother that I've never had in full force, you know, and that means a lot to me.
Yeah, I don't have to even met you, but you're like a brother. When I ran across you, I'm like, man, we got so much in common. And then my sister told me the same thing, and then she told me she was watching your show around the same time I started watching your show.
For real, separately, right? That's crazy.
Yeah.
You thought you were telling her something, she was already getting down with the show. I'm not saying she's crazy, but I'm just saying the situation's crazy. You never know.
Yeah, I identified with you. I'm like, wow, this guy, man, we're like brothers, man. It's an honor to even be on this show. It's an honor to be able to speak to all of our people around the planet.
Man, that's what I love, man. I mean,
it's an honor.
Well, it's an honor for me. I mean, even if I'm on here by myself ranting, I get up and got something to say. It's an honor that people would think I'm worthy enough to just come on and listen to what I have to share. And for everybody who comes on and shares a piece of their life, that okay, we know it may not last forever because YouTube may not be the internet. We know that, but for all intents and purposes, it goes on forever because whoever listens to these shows, it leaves an imprint in their heart and they will chuckle on the memory of what they heard 15, 20 years from now. There'll be children who grow up that were kids now, young children now, and relate to what we say, but they
I hope they are.
Oh, trust me, life will make them do so. Trust me, life will make them do so. Life out here is the great equalizer. They get away with certain things in their home and they're uncontrollable. Life will straighten them out because life is not going to take their crap. And they'll seek the sense. You know, some of us who are the wildest people, we get a little older, we have the most sense, especially if we survive the things. And I wasn't the wild guy. Like I said, I had a couple, too many girlfriends, but other than that, I was a good, clean guy. I didn't take advantage of nobody. I wasn't some aggressive kind of guy. I was, I liked the girls, but I made it where they came to me. I didn't, I wasn't aggressive. I was a decent, clean guy. There was no
Yeah,
nothing, and the friends that I had were clean guys, and
no baggage, me too.
yeah,
That's all the friends. Yeah, no
in the
baggage.
right in the neighborhood, they didn't sense danger. We didn't get down like that. People would
Mm-hmm.
vouch for us. We knew the guys who were doing bad, and even they would vouch for us. No, Lance doesn't do that. That's not him. You can't say. You know what I mean? So we grew up clean, and I had a wonderful
Yeah,
child. I had
yeah.
wonderful parents. My only thorn on my side was not being able to have a full relationship with my brother, who was really never really around because he wasn't allowed to be there in the house like that growing up because of the things that he was into. And I understood,
What do you?
but it still hurt
Yeah,
me. You know what I mean?
that's too
So
bad.
so when I run across a brother like you, and especially brother Quavo, he's a gift from the Creator. That we can
Mm-hmm.
vibe like we do. I mean,
Oh, people love me too.
yeah,
Man,
this weekend when we were hanging out, we were out of town, and all of us, his wife and Mrs. Scurv and I was telling jokes and living. He said, "Man, you better get up on stage. We got to do something with you." And he got up telling jokes. I'm like, man, the people who watch the show and see the serious Quavo, they would not believe how funny he is when he wants to be.
really?
And so both of us will
Wow.
cut the fool. I was like, listen, you know what? I'm one to grab the camera fast, but I might grab the camera and hide it while you're telling your jokes, man, because people
Mm.
would crack up.
Wow.
Imagine me and him doing a stand up. You know what I mean? That would be
Oh,
so
way
funny.
cool. Way cool. Huh. That's funny. That would be. Yeah, he resonates with a lot of people.
Yes, he
A
does.
lot.
Yes, he does. My emails are flooded. My text messages are flooded. And he's a private person, so he doesn't really get down with social media.
Me neither.
That is not his desire. And people can't believe it sometimes, but that's the way it is. He'll, if they want to do something, he's like, hey, talk to my brother, or we'll get it done. And some people get
Mm-hmm.
mad because they want a piece of him, and he just
Right.
doesn't do that. He just,
Right. Mm-hmm.
and I
Exactly.
respect it. And he knows that, like, there's certain off-limit things as a family when we talk. There's certain things that do not violate.
Of
But
course. Of course.
I keep cameras, and I see if you start talking that shit, that good stuff, I'm whipping out, and he knows that because look at the amount of work that I put up. It's like all these Quaker videos coming up. Well, it's because I'm right there with him, different places,
Wow. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and
So
he's
like
used
it's.
to it. I said, listen, if you ever feel, annoyed that the camera's always in your face, let me know. He's like, oh no, brother, I know you got me, but I keep the camera in his face constantly. Y'all know that
Mm-hmm.
because you all know him well. From that's me back there doing that.
Right. Right.
Whether it's
Right.
Jamaica or Ghana or Home Depot or the living room or the backyard or by the water or another state or whatever. When
Yeah.
I'm with him, I got my cameras. I don't go around here without my cameras, y'all.
Wow. That's cool. That's really good. That's your brother-in-law, right?
Yes, yes, that's Mrs.
Okay.
Scurv's brother.
Yeah, good person to know.
She's a comedian too.
Oh,
Don't be
man,
fooled.
I love her accent. I
She,
dated a Jamaican lady before, and man, when she started talking that Jamaican accent, it was intoxicating.
mm-hmm. Funniest thing is,
Intoxicating.
funniest thing is when she's chasing me at the kitchen. So, and she's not angry, but she's like acting angry. It's a trip because she'll speak the accent so deep. Most people won't understand, but see, because of my Jamaican father and growing up around that, when Jamaicans talk, I know exactly what they're saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can talk with a little bit of the accent, but it sounds fake. So I can fool most Americans, but Jamaicans like, listen, yeah,
They know.
they know, they know. Now,
But she,
one thing I will
man,
say, when I
she's
get
a good.
mad, if I'm angry, and it comes out like that, and I let it come out to somebody else who is, they're like, oh, damn, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But normally, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how many people have listened tonight?
Well, right now we have 331 listened, and it was up a little higher, and it was steady, and I know people are in and out. So when the
Yeah.
final tally comes up, it'll be a couple thousand maybe, and it will still grow. And by
Wow.
morning time, it'll be up there. And I like to keep
From
track.
where? What part of the world?
Oh, I have to go into the analytics. It has to,
Oh, okay.
once it
Okay.
processes, because like a show that was done live on this side, and I tell everybody this because it goes for everybody, no matter what show you watch. If it's a show that's a couple of hours long and it finishes, and you go right to it, it may start out in the middle because that size of video on their service has to process. So it's not finished yet. So if it's longer, you're going to have to wait longer for it to process. So I'm quite sure you'll understand that because I know people say, man, I went to the video, man, and it started me out the 2.5 hour mark for like a 6 or 7 hour video. I'm like, give it an
Okay.
hour or maybe 30 minutes. Keep checking back, it'll get better. You see what I mean? And then really right now there's nothing to look at except the banner that I made. But if it was a video, it'd be a face on it, have a face but look really fuzzy because it's still processing. You know what I mean? So that's how that works. So but
Okay.
so people say, well, man, half of it's gone. I'm like, no, it's not gone. It's coming. It just has to process. You know what I
I
mean?
hope that this one doesn't get taken down here.
No, 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 no. If they don't take it down like but they just straight remove it where it's gone. They do that
I
to
don't put nothing
channels,
past. I
but
don't put
I
nothing
have
past.
to I have about maybe 150 videos that I did in the last 2 months because I do more than one in a day. I mean, like okay, one short,
Wow.
one long. Like okay, I got up, I did the show with the Oracle. I did a short one that I uploaded to Mrs. Scurv. Before that, I uploaded the other one over in the park. So that's three, right? So now this makes four. There's another one. I went out to the store. I felt like saying something. I pulled over, pulled out the tripod, and ran to for 20 minutes. That makes five. So, Sister Sunrays wants to talk, but I'm gonna make it on a separate one. So if we hang up from this one, I'll start another one up so she can talk. I might go 30 minutes or something, or an hour, because I still got buttons to click. But I made a point to go to bed early, so later I stay up tonight, and so later I do the show tomorrow morning, which will be closer to noon or 11 or 10. So I
Oh,
keep it where I'm always something in front of me to do. You know what I mean?
yeah. Well, that's good. You're doing a great job, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Appreciate you, brother.
Man, yeah. Well, I appreciate people listening to me.
Let me tell you
Glad
something. If if
you
if
guys got some time
if,
tonight.
if you were the substitute teacher in school, we get rid of the regular teacher and make you the regular teacher. And if all teachers were like you in school, everybody would be in school. Trust me.
I am a substitute teacher now.
No, you're the main thing. You
I'm
know what
not
I mean?
paid, but I am a substitute teacher. This is a labor of love.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. When you love what you do, it resonates with the people, and you can feel it because they know it's real. If I can't do something to be real about it, if
Right,
I was the kind of guy that was decadent, I'm gonna be real in my decadence. You'd be like, okay, I don't do those things, but he's real with me.
yeah,
I gotta respect him.
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
Um,
yeah,
do what you do with all your heart and enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy
right.
it, don't feel it, don't do it no more.
Do something else,
Simple
yeah,
as
do
that.
something.
Do what you
Right.
love, and the universe
Mm-hmm.
will open up to you and bring you goodness and bring you all the things that are due to you. Especially if you do it because you love doing it. I'm not doing this
Right.
because I can do this and see my name all over the place. So people can see me in the street and treat me like a star. I've been through that whole phase when I was younger, being known and winning trophies. No, no, no.
Yeah.
This is a sweet time, man. To be almost 60 years old and be able from anywhere in the world and use this thing to for the better and bring other people on where people say, man, I'm glad to be a part of it. My name is on it, but I'm glad to be just a mere part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Sincerely.
Well, we all have our contribution to make, and no one contribution is better or more important, or than the other. Everything works by synergy,
That's right.
and as long as we keep that in mind, some people get big headed and for the wrong reasons, but everything works synergistically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's right. That's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna let you, do your thing and wind down. It's been beautiful. I just want to say I'm gonna end this segment, but I want Sister Sun Rays to call me the minute you get off the phone, so I have her on. I'm not gonna do a 3 hour show, but she has
Hmm.
something she said she wants to share, and I'll go
Okay.
on multitasking and talking with her and let it go on. So the people who are on now, it won't be a thing where stay on because they have to go at the end of the show, have to put a few songs up and come back. And just
Mm.
look for it on this channel because you're probably not going to get a notification because the YouTube staff can't stand me.
Yeah, they ganging up with them bastards on you.
Mm-hmm. They won't stop me. They don't know.
Yeah,
They have no
yeah,
idea. I'm a force of nature.
yep. That's right.
And
That's
you are
right.
too, brother. You are too.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Of
Thank you guys for
course.
listening, and hopefully, like I said, I hope they got something out of it. Something. sometimes it's a hodgepodge, and something can you can pick and choose what works for you and what doesn't.
You put it down tonight, though. You covered so many things, and this is going to spawn many of the conversations. It's going to help some of us to think a little different and to let go of things that are not really important, to
Yeah,
cultivate the things that are. And
yeah,
hopefully they learned a few things, and I learned a few things. We've all learned a few things. I'm never too cocky to say, well, everything. I know everything. No, 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 no. I'm here to learn. So,
nobody knows everything.
exactly.
That's why I listen to your platform. I want to learn too.
Exactly.
You guys can teach me some stuff.
Yes, yes. But brother,
Yeah,
you have a wonderful night. I'm gonna play the songs out for those who are here. Come back in a few after the thing ends. I'm gonna click those buttons and get on. And I feel the fatigue, but I feel high right now. So we'll talk a little more. So anyway,
I'm not right at all. I just have stuff to do.
no, I know, but you can listen in while you, you know what I mean.
Okay, man. Well, thank you so much
All right.
again. And I sent that link to you already, so you already have.
Yes, I'll put it up and everything too to share with everybody. You know what I mean?
Okay, great.
We'll make sure to do that. I
Okay,
just want to hear the feedback. It's a wonderful show, and
great.
you know,
Great.
maybe I shared too much information, but maybe I'm gonna laugh after that too. So she got
Yeah.
papers on me, wet Jerry curls, and oh man,
Yeah, the girl guy. Yeah.
you see, you can see the drops on the Jerry curls, just like full drops. And he had that. What's the other thing now? When you wash your hair, you wash the curls out. They had another bottle called Snapback. You'd see.
Oh, that's crazy. Crazy, crazy.
Ah, brother, have a wonderful night.
All right, brother.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Okay.
Good night.
Take care.
Good night, GBF.
All right.
All right.
All right.
Take care.
For everybody to come back. I'm not even gonna play all those songs and make you wait. I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna play the song, end this, go use the bathroom. I'm really pushing that. I really shouldn't stay up. I should really hit the sack. But Sister Sunrays, um, I want you to call me. And I just want to say, Sister Stu, you sent me an email. You're in. The other brother, let me see if I see his name up here. I set you up in Melanin Envy. And Brother Matthew, I think that was you that sent me an email. I got the social information. I might do it tomorrow morning. And if I'm up, really, because I am winding down, I just want to squeeze one more out. And let's just talk to Sister Sunray. So actually, let's see, now Sister Sunray is giving me a call now, so I have you on the line. And I want to end this so that that is a separate segment that we put up. And again, since you said the word segment, Sister Seven segment, she's going to be on probably early next week, sometime next week. She said the end of this week, but this is only the beginning. She's coming back. I'm going to make a call to Sister Nico, see how she's doing. If she wants to come back. Sister Keisha called me today, and she wanted to get on later on, which now is later on, but I know she's sleeping because she has to get up, so hopefully I'll get her back on tomorrow. So we're keeping a good rotation, and there's some other surprises that I have. And, you know, I walk with the cameras. Quaku is going to have me do something tomorrow. Some people that he told me, he said, listen, we got to get them on the channel. He's going to express some things, and so we have a lot of content coming. What I love about it, we have in-house exclusive content. I just appreciate all the love that you share for coming back. Go ahead, sister, now. Call me now, 407-590-0755. Sister Sunrays, give me a call now. And as I wrap up this show and start up another separate little segment again. Okay. Let me just put that number. One day I want soon I want to have like a joke night. We just like hang out and tell stories from the safety of our own home. Sister Sunrays, give me a call. I'm gonna play her song and I'll be out of here. All right? And I'll come back. If you don't call me now, I'm gonna end that other one, you know, and just delete it. So let's roll. My Lord is I lost my love. To the groove. I my Lord is I lost my love. To the groove. I my Lord is I lost my love.